It's the CFL Movie of the Week, the most anticipated thriller of the year, The Bombers and the Argos. Now playing in Winnipeg, a cursed Bomber team in a remake of The Night of the Living Dead. But they come back to life in a rare action adventure. Rob Davis is the peacemaker as push comes to shove. Jeff Reinbold gives it 2 thumbs up. Bombs away. Milt Stegall is as slick as he is sensational. The long bomb threat is flying his game in formation. Grant Carter is electrifying. Had he started the season in Winnipeg, they could have been a contender. But in the Argos, the sequel, the swashbucklers from the East are after more treasure.
Remember that I am your captain.
Yes, with Don Matthews at the helm, it's been clear sailing for the good ship Argonaut. Doug Flutie stars as the first mate, looting CFL teams in one of those rare and magical performances. And in a supporting role, Robert Drummond runs the gauntlet with both guns blazing. Drummond is a must-see in a performance that could earn him an Oscar. Are you ready for this?
Damn right we're ready. Let's go.
Do up your chin strap. This is Winnipeg, where a late hit and a post-game shoving match has brought a week of controversy in a season of adversity. And today it doesn't get much easier as they play the first-place Argonauts. Good afternoon and welcome to the CFL on CBC. I'm Mark Lee inside the Bomber locker room where the fallout over Rob Davis's late hit on Damon Allen last Friday has lasted all week. This team has paid thousands of dollars in fines. Adam Rita has accused their head coach Jeff Reinbold of putting bounties on other players, and the Bombers have responded by threatening a lawsuit should that accusation not be rescinded. Through it all, these guys say they've been galvanized, and to hear Rob Davis speak, he says he's not going to change his game, despite the fact one more rough play penalty will earn him a 2-game suspension.
If the referees feel that I'm a dirty player, I'm a bad player, then that shows me that they don't know the type of person I am. You know, look at me as a football player. I'm out there playing hard, working hard like every other guy out there on the field. And they know it's my game. It's been my game since I've been in this league, and I'm going to continue to play that way.
The Bombers say they're literally psyched up for this match. They brought in an NFL psychologist for meditation and motivation as they get set to play the team that beat them 66-25 3 weeks ago. For more on that, let's go to the booth and join Chris, and Dave.
Mark, Jeff Reinbold said that 66 points drove him to the psychological crisis hotline. No wonder the Argos have guys on either side of the ball that'll drive you crazy.
Well, on defense, they got big number 91, Demetrius Maxey, 4 quarterback sacks, 21 tackles. May very well be the best weak side defensive end in the CFL.
Well, we're going to get a chance to watch who I feel is the Rookie of the Year, and that's Daryl Mitchell. He's been all over the place. He leads them in almost every category. He has upgraded a Grey Cup team.
Yeah, but Dave, Winnipeg's upgraded their defense with Robert Davis at safety, and these two playing together for the first time, and together they feel they can limit Doug Flutie's time with the football. How about the keys?
Well, Doug Flutie gets everybody involved. He does such a great job. He's going to spread the wealth, and they have to get to Chris Vargas. Little shaky maybe, get after him.
And for Winnipeg to win, the offense must control the clock. More time for them is less time for Doug Flutie, and don't give up the big play on defense.
Argos have won 6 in a row. Bombers are better, though, 2-2 in the second half. Mark?
Chris, coming up at halftime, lineman Brett McNeil, the man who would be Chris Walby's heir in the Bomber locker room. The big dog himself talks football with McNeil. At the half, the weather, well, a week of summer-like conditions on the prairies has given way to a classic fall Sunday in Bomberland. Temperatures plunging from the high 20s to 14 today, and the winds gusting as high as 55 kilometers per hour. We're set for kickoff. Let's play football. Chris?
All right, there's Don Matthews, who said last week his team was not at its best, but the mark of a good team showed through because they did prevail with a 1-point victory over the Edmonton Eskimos. On the other side, Jeff Reinbold said, I've never been embarrassed like that in my life, in reference to the 66-25 game. He says, if we're going to grow, we need challenges like this one, a return match against the red hot 11-2 Toronto Argonauts. Mike Vanderjagt kicks it off, and we are underway. Dexter Dawson will take the football, and he's brought down at the 42-yard line. Mike O'Shea hustling downfield to lead the tacklers and limit Dawson's return to 7 yards. Here's Chris Vargas coming off a sweet for him victory against the BC Lions last week. Vargas seems to have his game back on track, making his 3rd consecutive start.
This is a pivotal game for him, Chris, because Kevin McDougall, who took his job during the season, is now healthy. He needs to play well to stay on the field.
So the Bombers start from their own 42-yard line. And quickly they give it to Tyrone Montgomery, who tries to spin away from Mike O'Shea unsuccessfully. And O'Shea drops Montgomery for a loss of 2 on the misdirection play.
And the Bombers' offensive line, there's a rookie Mike Mihalik, the new guy in the lineup there, but they got some great veterans in Chris Perez and Craig Hendrickson. The backs and receiver, Tyrone Montgomery, the new man, the running back, replacing Williams in the backfield.
And Joe Powell, the offensive coordinator, said we will see a lot of Montgomery today. Here a 6-pack for Vargas. Big rush on, led by Benson, and down goes Vargas for the first time today, and Reggie Gibbons is there to record the sack.
And this is something that Toronto wants to do. They said they were going to come after Vargas, disrupt him, but the biggest thing is right now they're bringing Ken Benson, the Sam linebacker, up, coming right off the corner on the right-hand side of your screen right now. The tackle has to decide, do I take the inside guy, Gibbons, or the outside guy, Benson? No matter what he does, he's wrong. Quarterback sack.
That's the 4th sack of the year for Gibbons. And a little bit of a reprise from the first meeting between these 2 teams when McDougall never got any time. Bob Cameron, his first punt of the game. And Mike Clements at the Argo 36. And Clements is game tackled right there. No return for the pinball. 42-yard punt by Cameron. And Doug Flutie comes back onto the field in Winnipeg, and he has scorched the Bombers this year. His numbers on the season approaching 4,000 yards. But against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, 867 yards in 2 starts, 10 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
And the big stat maybe there, Chris, 74% completions. He just does not miss.
Well, the wind gust should be a factor today. Flutie handing it off for the first time. Robert Drummond up to the 40-yard line as Drummond approaching 1,000 yards on the season. Drummond coming into the game with 993.
Great offensive line, super athlete in Willie Williams, versatile, Kiselak, Payne, and Giauskas on the front. And who do you throw the ball to? Anybody in this group. Robert Drummond, one of the leading candidates for most outstanding player of the year.
So Drummond gets 5. He's 2 away from his first 1,000-yard rushing season. Chauncey Peoples was on the move prior to the snap of the football. Drummond will be stopped short of the first down. Flags on the field would likely indicate offside Winnipeg.
Well, Shante just wants to get back. He's been out for 3 weeks. He's fired up. He wants to get there and make a presence. He figures with him on one side and Grant Carter on the other, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. He just anticipates the count sometimes. Your adrenaline's going.
Pete, 2nd down.
Shante Peoples back after missing 3 games and the bulk of the Labor Day game against Saskatchewan. So he's really been out for the last 4 games, and he's still 2nd on the Bombers in tackles, and they really feel that Peoples combined with Carter is going to be a big impact for them. Here are the gloves Doug Flutie wearing for the first time since last year's Grey Cup game.
Yeah, the reason he's wearing them is to get ready for the cold weather games they may face down the road. Certainly the Grey Cup played in Edmonton is going to be a chilly day, so he would like to get ready if he has a chance to play in that game wearing the gloves.
And this is the last outdoor game during the regular season for the Argos. 2nd now in inches. Let's see what Flutie does with this play. He'll hand it off to Drummond, who will plunge for the first down, and that should give him 1,000 yards on the season. And Drummond in quest of 1,000 yards rushing and receiving.
And Colin Scrivener on the Bombers defensive line has got to, they're anticipating big things from Colin. He's only got 10 tackles coming into this game. He's got to really have a great game for Bombers to win defensively today. Shante Peoples back from the lineup. He's going to give Grant Carter some speed now on the other side. Spare him up. And Robert Davis, the nickel back, played safety, good hitter, make the receivers fear him a little bit coming across the middle.
Davis, a veteran. The last time these teams met, Kesley Perrin, a 20-year-old safety, as a time count violation will be charged against the Argos. But it was a tough spot 3 weeks ago, Dave, for the youngster Perrin to be in there at safety, and Doug Flutie had a field day.
Yeah, that would be a nightmare to know that you're going to play in your first CFL game, let alone know that you're going to play against the Toronto offense that leads almost every offensive category and maybe the best quarterback that's ever played this game, Doug Flutie.
Well, it is official. Drummond at 1,000 yards, the 4th Argo in team history to reach that mark. Flutie first down, and it's Mazzotti coming across for a gain into Winnipeg territory. He stopped at the 50-yard line by the safety, Robert Davis. Paul Mazzotti with 9 catches 3 weeks ago in his last visit to Winnipeg.
That's a matchup that this Winnipeg team has to win. That was Davis matched up against Mazzotti. Mazzotti loses him to the inside, and Flutie just makes a nice throw into the wind here. And Mazzotti gets up the sideline. They were so concerned with Drummond, as you saw him run through your screen right there. Nick Ferguson running with Drummond all the way up the field.
So the Argos have a first down at the Winnipeg 50. A handoff Drummond, and he'll add to his 1,000 yards as Drummond kicks it outside and has close to 8. Robert Drummond joining Gil Fennerty, Bill Simons, and Doyle Orange as the only Argonaut running backs ever to reach 1,000 yards in a season.
And the big thing about Drummond is Gil Fennerty set the record in 1989 when he was outstanding rookie, had 1,247 yards. Robert Drummond is well on pace to defeat that and be the all-time Argo rusher.
3 weeks ago, Drummond's presence was more as a receiver. Caught 5 passes for 131 yards and 3 touchdowns in the 66-25 route. But Drummond was held in check last week by the Edmonton Eskimos. There's the scatter formation for the Argos. Second, and we'll call it 3. Drummond inside, stopped by Davis initially, but the second effort should get him to the first down stick.
That's a good sign for Winnipeg defense, and the fact that every time Robert Drummond gets the ball, it's almost unnatural for him to get a first down. He has an uncanny ability not only to find a hole, but to jump. On this one, he bounces, he gets hit at the line of scrimmage here. It's a great job by Robert Davis coming out there and sticking his head in there. Shante Peoples and company stopping him just about short.
Robert Drummond came into the game the leader in yards from scrimmage in the CFL, 1,757, and on pace to break Mike Brinkle's record. This time they fake to Drummond. Flutie throws it outside. There's Pinball Clements, and he is tossed out of bounds by Reggie Carthon.
Flutie gets a little surprised here. He thought the play fake would draw Carter a little bit more, and it didn't happen. Subsequently, he had to load it up and get it out of there quick, and the guy that's always been his outlet, Pinball Clemens, open in the flat, and then he makes something happen after the play. They do such a great job on first down of getting good positive yardage.
I agree with you, Dave. I think one of the greatest things is even when a play is broken, they have outlets to make the play successful. That's how dangerous Argo team is.
And that is the 85th catch this year by Clemens. Second and a yard. And again, this is a lethal situation for Flutie. 3 receivers come to the left. They go inside to Drummond. Robert Drummond breaks a tackle, and he almost broke it to the end zone. Saving tackle there by Shante Peoples.
Well, last time they had a short yardage play, they went to the left side of the line. Robert Davis came up, made a nice play. This time they decide to go to the right side. Takes it there, cuts it back inside. Does a nice job by his offensive lineman of keep their feet driving, staying in front.
This is a good example of this wind offense that Don Matthews talked about yesterday, Dave.
Yeah, this is what he wanted to do. They wanted to control the clock, move the football down the field, and use everybody.
There's Flutie looking for nutrition. It's picked off at the 15-yard line. The interception made by Reggie Carthon. That's his 3rd of the year.
Well, Doug's trying to be so fine with the football with the wind blowing cross field that he tries to guide this in. It's picked off. Well, Doug Flutie made a decision to throw the ball underneath, and this is the reason why. As his receivers clear, we're going to freeze it right now, guys, and you see this open area. That's where Demetrician right here is trying to get to. Doug's wearing the gloves, and he tries to float it in there. It's picked off.
So a real boost for the Winnipeg defense that was riddled by Flutie 3 weeks ago. They come up big on their first offensive stand. And Tyrone Montgomery unable to get outside.
Now, Tyrone Montgomery's got some great wheels, but one of the things Don Matthews said yesterday was this is the best team he's ever had for team speed. They can cover a lot of ground. They can be down a step and come back and make it up in no time at all.
Argos #1 in 19 defensive categories, including #1 against the run, and Montgomery is already 2 carries for -4 yards. Second and long. Here comes the rush. Vargas gets it away, and it skips in front of the intended receiver. Looked like Alan Boyko, the wide out to the far side of the field.
And again, this is what happened last time they played Winnipeg. Lester Smith coming up the middle. You can see him. He's lined up right here. As we run the play, you're going to see he just comes up. Safety blitz. Causes some confusion. They can't pick everybody up. Don Matthews said, if you block 7, we'll bring 8. We're always going to bring 1 extra guy. You got to rush the throw.
Well, Ken Benson was the man that time that forced the hurry. And Bob Cameron in once again. What a terrific career he has had, and Cameron excels on days like today when the wind is blowing at Winnipeg Stadium. Here's pinball from midfield. Got a block on Greg Battle, and pinball is still going. Cameron may have to make the tackle. Well, he's brought down near the 10-yard line. Brandon Hamilton finally tracks the pinball down, and the Argos are threatening when we return. .48 yards for Pinball Clemens. He's over 2,800 all-purpose yards on the season.
Well, Pinball's going to find a little crease right there as you saw him go north and south. That's what a returner looks for. One block, they can get him north and south, and this guy's done a great job of this all year long and throughout his career.
Top punt returner in the CFL this year, and now the Argos threatening. They turned it over on Doug Flutie's 17th interception of the year deep in Winnipeg territory, but they get it right back at the 11. And Winnipeg like their alignment and call a timeout.
Well, they've got big people in the game, meaning they brought in a couple of offensive linemen to play both ends. They've slid Willie Williams out to a tight end, replaced him with an offensive lineman, and then Jeremy O'Day is coming at the other tight end position. So now you're looking at 7 offensive linemen on the field, and that creates a problem.
And remember, Dave, last time they played, Jeremy O'Day caught 2 passes, 1 for a touchdown out of that very formation at the tight end. They have to make sure they cover this guy. He doesn't got the world's fastest speed, but he can get open, evidently.
Hey, he was saying before the game, this is his park. Thought I'd seen everything until I saw Jeremy O'Day catch 2 passes 3 weeks ago, and today Chris Walby show up with a pink tie. First down, play action, Flutie, that shovel to Drummond, and Grant Carter from behind with the tackle as Drummond ran into his own man. Dan Payne was stood up, and Drummond had to bounce off the right guard.
And you can see one of the things when you have a rookie here, especially as a tight end, and his block is so key. He's got a great job here, and his job is simply to wall off people to the outside, because you can't make the play when you got to go through somebody.
Well, Grant Carter, we've got Drummond down, and Drummond with 6 carries, 36 yards already. And this would obviously be a major cause for concern. It's one thing that the Toronto Argonauts have not had to worry about this year, injuries.
Well, the big thing is, exactly, Chris, the last time they played, they beat Winnipeg very handily, 66-something. But the problem was that Winnipeg had 5 starters. They got hurt the week before. There's a lot of confusion on that field. Right now, they have got the healthiest team they've had in a number of weeks. And as you said, Toronto has had 0 problems. And one of the things as you go down the stretch is injuries will dictate how you finish the year. And that's one of the things. You can't afford to lose a guy like Robert Drummond.
Well, Drummond fights to make this catch. You see, he has to twist his body, and then he runs right into Greg Battle. That allowed everybody to rally, and as you're getting wrapped up and going down, people have shots at your legs and things, and watch Drummond twist to make this catch. Right here he has to turn, and then he runs right into Greg Battle right here.
And if you watch the end of this play, David, you'll see Greg Battle come at the back of the screen and dive on the back of his legs.
Dave, we had this discussion coming over today. The Argos so fortunate in the injury department, and if there was one injury aside from Flutie that would really hurt them, it probably would be to Robert Drummond, but looks like he's okay, and that's a big sigh of relief for the Argos.
Looked like he hyperextended the knee a little bit, and I think he was a little more worried about it than anything else. A little scary to have the knee go on you when you've had such a healthy season.
Robert Drummond got 5 at 2nd and 5. They can't get a first down without a touchdown, and they're going to get stuck here. Look at Clemens bounce off, and he'll score. Well, we just saw another piece of evidence of why they call him Pinball Clemens.
Well, Pinball Clemens just distributed, or just showed us why he is called Pinball exactly, Chris, but the block, Doug Flutie gets back into the play and makes a block on Shante Peoples, which actually allows Pinball to score.
Boy, that's making something big out of nothing.
Watch Doug Flutie get back into this play. You see Pinball's wrapped up. Now Flutie's going to get out in front, and he's going to block 56 right there. Pinball probably scores anyway, but Doug Flutie, always the competitor, always involved.
Rare carry for Clemens, just the 16th time this year, but Drummond went to the sidelines, and they can call upon the pinball, and he answers with a 5-yard touchdown run. That's his first running touchdown of the season, 7th overall. And Shante Peoples, one of the Winnipeg defenders, trying to figure out how he got loose.
And one of the nicest things is we just talked about Colin Scrivener in the opening, and he does a great job of getting penetration. There's 4 guys that have a shot of tackling pinball. You have got to wrap up. This is why you do your drills all week. You cannot afford to let this go. You can see some penetration come right there. Colin Scrivener does a great job. We got everybody there. We got 5 guys. They're trying to actually pull the ball out of Pinball's hands. Got to give him credit. Doug Flutie with a great block, as alluded by Dave.
Now you're kicking yourself in that situation. You had a chance to make a play and get retaped up to do battle on the next series, but that's a play you have to make. You're a struggling team. You have a chance to make something happen. You got to make the play.
Clemens got it all started with the 48-yard punt return and finished it with a 5-yard touchdown. Now Dexter Dawson puts it on the ground, and the Argos have the football. Dawson, a promising return, but he gives it up. And it's Brendan Rogers who calls Winnipeg home, coming up with a big fumble recovery for the Argos.
One of the things that'll kill a team is obviously turnovers, especially on special teams. You can see Dexter Dawson comes in here, and if you slow it down just a little bit right here, you'll see a hand coming in right there. Brendan Rogers will do the double duty here. He knocks the ball out and also makes the recovery. Great job by Brendan Rogers. He is a special threat on teams like this.
Just the 5th fumble for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers this season. The Argos get the ball right back, and Robert Drummond's back on the field, wrapped up by Grant Carter. Short gain down to the 48-yard line.
And again, another good job by Colin Scrivener to force it outside so Grant Carter can come in here and make the play. You can see Colin Scrivener right under the pile here. Good job. That's what you want out of your defensive tackles right now. Stuff the holes, allow the rest of your team to come over and help.
Second and long for the Argos. 2nd and 8. Here comes Peoples, and Peoples will get to the quarterback, and the Bombers are up to the football. Colin Scrivener on the big blitz by Shante Peoples.
think there's a legitimate right here is Shante Peoples right there. He's going to come off the corner. Gets a great jump. Kislak doesn't see him coming. The center popping. Oh, that's a fumble all the way.
How can they call that anything but a fumble?
Bad call. That's something Winnipeg doesn't need right now.
Well, the break's not going Winnipeg's way, but the defense is certainly playing tough. Here's Dawson by Charles Anthony. Dawson hanging on and outside the 40-yard line. Well, that's an unbelievable call going against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. We talked off the opening, though. Shante Peoples and Grant Carter, and this combination, Jeff Reinbold really thinks will make a difference.
Well, this is completely ridiculous. This is just poor officiating. There is no question in anybody's mind in the whole stadium that that's a fumble. That is a poor job of doing your job.
You can't have that happen here. The referees cannot miss those kind of calls in these games.
Bombers take over at the 42 instead of in Argo territory. Vargas looking downfield, and he has Milt Stiegel. Stiegel running under the football, and the big play man has another.
Surprise, surprise, surprise. Number 85 lives in the blue. He does such a super job of catching the football in traffic. This is a floater. He gears down and catches the ball over Charles Anthony.
And Vargas does a great job of throwing here. You see Michael Shea coming late. He's got to get rid of the ball. He's got to put it on target. He does a great job of doing it.
Well, he has a record, Bomber record, 8 consecutive games with a touchdown reception. Terry Evanson's record of 10. Here's Tyrone Montgomery, big hole! Montgomery's going to score! Touchdown Bombers!
And whenever this guy, Tyrone Montgomery, this is what he does for him. He upgrades him at the position because he has great speed. And as soon as he breaks clean, he's gone.
And that offensive line from Winnipeg did a great job of opening a nice hole. One of the things that happens with Toronto, if you're going to put that many guys on your front line of defense, bam, there's going to be a great opening there for you.
Here's exactly what you're talking about. Look at how many people are up. There's not very many people in the secondary. And like Chris Walby says, an offensive line creases them like this. You get it back with this kind of speed, that's a touchdown.
You got nobody in the middle playing secondary. Boom. With his speed, he's gone.
30
You see right now, does a great job. Mike Michalik, right at the top of your screen, does a great job on a trap. Opens it up. But as you say, Tyrone Montgomery has got great speed. Comes right through there, follows the lead block. Craig Hendrickson upfield on the second level, which means he's going after a linebacker. Does a great job. Doesn't let pursuit from the outside get in. That's what they have to do to beat this team.
When they're all up like that, the reason the defensive backs had their backs to the run, they're covering man coverage. It looked like they wanted to blitz there. If you crease a blitz or get through quickly, the defensive backs are locked man coverage on the receivers. Nobody sees the running back. Subsequently, Montgomery's in the end zone.
That's his longest run in the CFL. His previous long run was 13 yards, but I think the Bombers felt that he has shown a burst in each of his 3 games and was capable of breaking one soon and does just that. So his first rushing touchdown gets the Bombers back on even terms, and if they're going to take breaks away from you, you got to make your own, right? Winnipeg did. Here's Lester Smith. Broke a tackle, kept going up to the 40. Good hustling return by the Argo safety. 3:22 to go, first quarter, and it has had its moments here at Winnipeg Stadium. Good start.
Welcome you to our internet address. There's the address, www.tv.cbc.ca/CFL. 2 weeks now, we've had some pretty good chat lines. Last week, Chris Cuthbert and I fielding all kinds of comments on the Rob Davis hit. Chris.
Yeah, we had people on the internet from Baltimore to BC, and it's a lot of fun. Here's Pinball. Pinball's been active in this first quarter, catching the football, returning punts, and we've got an injured Blue Bomber down.
Sammy Brennan is down. He's a starting safety. They have Robert Davis moved into the nickel back position to try and take away some of Toronto's arsenal of receivers. They can ill afford to lose this man right now.
Well, the reason being is because, as you said, they've moved Davis up to play up in a linebacker role or a nickelback role. Now, they're not that deep in the secondary. Sammy Brennan, ironically, was the #1 pick for the Toronto Argonaut team in the Ottawa dispersal draft. He didn't make that ball club, went on to BC, and then was traded back here, and he felt like this was a great opportunity for him to come to Winnipeg, who had been struggling a little bit, to maybe find a chance to have a chance to play. Didn't get a chance to play a lot last year, and now Brad Elberg is going to come in and replace him.
3 minutes to go, first quarter. We're tied at 7 at Winnipeg Stadium. Well, Sammy Brennan being helped to the Bombers sidelines. And a second down. Less than a yard to go for Doug Flutie. 3 receivers to either side, and Flutie just pushes ahead. Wanted to get your take on yesterday's unusual Bomber news conference. Jeff Reinbold and Dr. Phil Toll, who works with the St. Louis Rams, psychological coach, if you will. Do the players buy into this? Is there untapped energy to be tapped by the Bombers?
You know what, and you got a lot of guys that laugh, and he said one key thing, and that is you want to have it in a room, in the locker room, where the guys have their house, and that means their locker, so you feel comfortable, and you have to open your mind and be able to accept this. And we've had guys do Simon Says drills with us and a bunch of other stuff, and it's really an untapped area.
Well, you can't argue with the early results in this first quarter. A fired up Bomber team playing the Argos tough.
And Jeff has said that he will hire this man if he can next year full time, and he feels that having a team psychologist is the wave of the future.
Don Matthews probably not subscribing to it, but did say if you can find a guy who can help your football team, then you've got to use him. I'm not sure if you need a psychologist when this guy's your quarterback. Second down, and Flutie rolling out, throwing a completion to Darryl Mitchell. There is a flag down as Mitchell scampered outside, finally out of bounds at the Winnipeg 25. But this one should be coming back.
It'll come back, Chris, and we talked about Darryl Mitchell and what a great season he's had this year. This is his first sniff of the football today, and it's going to come back. Darryl just drug across the field and got open for a scrambling Doug Flutie. And this is what they said he does so well. As soon as he came in, he understood coverage, found the creases.
Big game last week against Edmonton. 5 catches, 116 yards, and he had the game-winning touchdown in that classic matchup against the Edmonton Eskimos.
But one of the things you got to give people credit here, and that is Winnipeg's defensive line and front 7 linebackers are really causing some problems. And Toronto is having to hold them and drag them down to give Doug some extra time right now, and that's what you want out of your defense.
Couple of changes in that defense. Shannon Garrett is out today with an ankle injury, and Dwayne Knight sits down. Dee Osborne moves into the middle. Mike Roach said he was looking forward to the challenge of playing this Argo team again within 3 weeks of the debacle here, when the Bombers allowed a record 66 points. 2nd and 15. Flutie. Clemens can't bring it down. And it'll be 3rd down as the Bombers defense stiffens.
Something that Toronto likes to do is they like to formation you, and that means they send a lot of different looks at you. They flood the backfield out. Both Drummond and Clemens are to the right. Now Clemens is going to come back inside for a screen pass. You see the lineman trying to get in front. Winnipeg is doing a great job of realizing what they're trying to do to them and lining up properly. That was a problem they had last time. They weren't lining up right.
And they shortened the defensive package to make it a little easier to understand and follow through in the game.
Vanderjagt, second kick into the wind. Dexter Dawson at the Bomber 30, and he is dragged down there. Mike O'Shea once again leads the specialty teams for the Argos, as he has done all season long. It's his 20th special teams tackle on the year.
And one of the things, you know, you're paying these guys money, and he left Hamilton. A lot of people thought he should come back. He wanted to play for a Grey Cup champion. He got it last year. But a guy like this who plays a full-time position at middle linebacker has to do a little sideline to sideline on the defense, and yet contributes so much on the special teams. That's the kind of guy you want in your locker room and on your football field.
Hey, he's pumped up the Guelph Griffins yesterday, routing #1 ranked Waterloo. Well, Chris Vargas. See if he can build on that quick scoring drive last time with the ball, and Vargas throws the interception. He was looking for Alan Boyko, but Donald Smith, the former Bomber, stepped in front and grabs his second interception of the year.
And what really just disturbs me about this is it's a timing pattern, and I'm sure Dave will concur. He throws it to an area. Alan Boyko doesn't even look like he's looking for the ball right now. Donald Smith does a great job. It's just one of those things that you feel like if you're going to start throwing timing patterns, you better make sure you're in the proper sync with the receiver, knowing to come back to the ball and not allowing that defensive back to have a chance at catching that ball.
Well, as you said, Chris, you have to believe that your guy's going to get to where he's supposed to be, and Donald Smith ran the route better than Alan Boyko did.
After you, baby, back at home with Winnipeg. Hey, I love you.
Another ball lost in that Bermuda Triangle in the Argo defense. First down, Argos. Here's Drummond. Look at Drummond searching for open area down to the 30-yard line. A first down for big Robert Drummond. Final play, first quarter. We're tied in Winnipeg, but the Argos are on the move. Robert Drummond over 1,000 yards in reflection of that 66-25 game of 3 weeks ago. Drummond felt that it could have been a whole lot worse as far as Winnipeg was concerned.
Well, we definitely can see confusion. You know, that's what we're trying to create. I mean, because when we create confusion for defense, you know, it allows Doug to just sit there and see a man running down the field wide open, you know, because we went back and watched the game film, and honestly, we should have scored 100 points.
Well, Jeff Reinbold wouldn't argue. In fact, he said the Argos probably should have scored 166, but I don't think they're going to score 66 today.
No, he talked about how they create confusion, and so far, because, like you said, Chris Walby, the way they've simplified their defense, they have not created any confusion. In fact, Winnipeg has risen to the challenge.
Well, they're tested now. Argos, first down at the Winnipeg 30. And Flutie, it's knocked down. Big Grant Carter went up and knocked it down.
Well, that's his third knockdown of the year. He's only been with Winnipeg 4 games. He's got 3 sacks. He is an impact player on any team. Felt he should have stayed with the San Diego Chargers in the NFL. Came back to Winnipeg, likes the area out here, and has just done a great job. And one of the things as a defensive lineman, you can't make the play, get your hands up.
He was saying yesterday that when Alfred Payton rejoined Montreal last year, his numbers really improved in the second half, and he thought with Peoples in the lineup, the same thing would happen here in Winnipeg down the stretch. Second down for the Argos, 10 to go. Flutie over the middle has a completion. Andre Kerwin with the catch at the 10-yard line.
Andre Kerwin, almost a forgotten man in this offense. He's only got, that's his 14th reception of the year. And just does a nice job of getting around Sammy Brennan, finds a little hole. Nice pitch and catch.
Yeah, Doug Flutie just steps up after getting a great block in the backfield by Willie Williams. Stepped up and made the play.
First down for the 10. Flutie looks to the end zone. Touchdown. Daryl Mitchell, who has been red hot of late. And Mitchell is in the end zone for the 11th time this season.
Well, Daryl Mitchell's had a super season, and he had 4 touchdowns in the last 4 games, and he continues to add to his streak. He's got 25 passes over the last 4 games, and Doug just really feels like he's in sync with this guy. He felt like that they needed a big-time slot receiver to add to this team, and Daryl Mitchell has been that.
10-yard gain. He's now 10 yards away from a 1,000-yard season. Mitchell had a couple of touchdowns in the last meeting between these two teams, and Vanderjagt adds the point after. Daryl Mitchell and he is a lock for Rookie of the Year.
Well, this is the big thing, and I mean, Toronto has so many weapons. I'm talking to some of the fellows yesterday on the field. They said, we don't care if we get down a couple touchdowns. We have so much confidence in our offense that we know we can score at any particular time. And I don't want to be hard on Winnipeg's defense because they played so well the first quarter, but they looked kind of soft there, and 2 quick passes. Doug Flutie just rolls out. He's sitting, doesn't have a whole lot of pressure, just throws a nice pass. Daryl Mitchell makes a nice catch, and he's got coverage. Jocelyn Borgello just a little off.
That's the 6th consecutive game that Daryl Mitchell has caught a touchdown pass. And the Argos restore their lead 14-7 here early in the second quarter. So Jeff Reinbold, in assessing the Argos, says Mitchell's one of the big reasons that this Toronto team's better than the one that won the Grey Cup a year ago. Dexter Dawson fielding it from his 10. There's Mike O'Shea to make another specialty teams tackle. Dawson to the 35.
You'd think as many plays as he's made, they'd put somebody on him to block him. He makes so many tackles. We look at the first half stats, or first quarter stats, excuse me, and Toronto's dominated, but because of the 2 turnovers, Winnipeg is right there on the scoreboard.
But the time of possession, 10 minutes to 4 minutes, Winnipeg has to control the ball offensively, try and cool off Doug Flutie.
And that was what the Argos working into the win in the opening quarter. Vargas, Tyrone Montgomery. First carry since the 38-yard touchdown for Montgomery. And more positive yards up to the 43. And he has 7 to 8 yards on the carry.
Well, this defense leads the league against the run. They only give up 74 yards a game versus their opponent rushing the football. And this will be an interesting film for the Montreal team to watch, who plays them twice in the last 3 weeks of the season. Let's remember they have who I think might be the MVP of this league, Mike Pringle at tailback.
2nd and 3. Vargas will swing it out to Montgomery. Tyrone Montgomery has the first down up to the 50. Kent Benson upending Montgomery, and we expected to see Tyrone Montgomery get the ball a lot, and he is the focal point of this Winnipeg offense.
Well, that's the biggest thing he said. Joe Paupau said, let's get it in this guy's hands through the pass, through the air, almost a la Robert Drummond of Toronto. Does a great job. Alan Boyko does a nice job blocking and give him a lane to run up. And
at the Bomber 50, back to Montgomery. And another good surge by the running back for 6.
Well, we're early in the ball game, Chris, and I'm talking Chris Walby right now. But I talked to Andrew Stewart before the game, and he said he didn't have a lot of respect for this offensive line. They think it's the strength of their team, Winnipeg saying, but Stewart didn't have much to say about him.
Well, Stewart's got 6 sacks. He's going to say that obviously because he wants to hate these people, but I think they found something there because they're getting a little success up the middle up here.
2nd down. Vargas looking for O'Bannon. Can't hang on. Charles Anthony came down with the ball but out of bounds. Now they're going to get an argument that Anthony had 1 foot in play.
Well, they're always going to argue, you know that. They want the stats. They got bonuses for that kind of stuff.
They have to make the catch. Chris Vargas with a super throw. Ooh, and that was very close to having an argument whether Charles Anthony actually got that foot down.
We talked about Demetrius Maxey. He's trying to go over Chris Perez any way he can, around him, through him, or over him. Big load at 290 pounds.
That's a big guy to get over, 6'6", 290. Perez isn't, it's not like you're jumping over a small guy.
3rd down and Cameron in to punt to the pinball. This one on the ground, and Clements from inside his 20. And look at him work his way out. Making more out of nothing for Clements, and that has been a problem for the Bombers today. Controlling little number 31. Good matchup next week at Skydome on the CFL on CBC. David Allen and the BC Lions, coming off that thrilling come-from-behind victory over Hamilton on Friday night, will meet the Argonauts, and then On Sunday, this should be a beauty. Calgary and Edmonton meeting again. And by the end of the day, guys, we could have a three-way tie for first in the West if Saskatchewan was to upend the Edmonton Eskimos and Calgary beat Montreal. Flutie in trouble, and down he goes. Shante Peoples, as Doug Flutie is sacked for the second time in the game.
And as an offensive lineman, we used to hate this kind of sack because we call it a coverage sack. The defensive backs are doing great job of covering the receivers. The quarterback should only have so much time to throw the ball. He's trying, the offensive line that is trying to give him as much protection as they possibly can. If you take a look, you'll see Peoples at the corner here. He just keeps working. You'll see him keep coming around. That's persistence. That's what a making of a great defensive end.
Flutie had only been sacked once in the last 5 games, twice today. Dwayne Demetrician wide open. Foot race now, Demetrician trying to get to the end zone, and Reggie Carthen upends him at the 5.
Wow.
But Dwayne Demetrician's been a big play man for a couple of weeks now. Touchdown against Edmonton, touchdown a week before.
That's a blown coverage, and these are the kind of things they did not want to have happen to him. You see Reggie Carthen lets Demetrician get behind him, and now he has to make the touchdown-saving tackle, but it should never have gotten to that because they were playing a blanket zone in that situation, and Demetrician just ran right through it.
And it just destroys you as a defense, and the fact that the first play you get a nice sack on Doug Flutie, you got him in a hole, you got him pinned down there, and then you let him out like that.
78 yards to Demetrician, and Doug Flutie now over 4,000 yards on the season. Flutie keeping it, and he's going to be wrapped up and thrown down. Robert Davis came across to make the stop, and it'll be 2nd and goal.
Now give an assist to Sammy Brennan. He comes from his safety position and cuts Flutie off after Grant Carter took away the shovel pass to Robert Drummond. Sammy Brennan gets up, cuts it off, and then Davis is going to come in and clean up. You see Brennan stops his tracks, and then there's Davis.
Crowd urging the defense. Flutie, Drummond can't hang on.
Well, that's a big break definitely for the Bomber defense coming. He was wide open. Little pitch and catch from Doug Flutie to Robert Drummond. He should have just walked in easily for a touchdown. I'm sure there's a collective sigh of relief, not only on the Bomber defensive line, but on the sidelines of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers right now.
Drummond 5 touchdowns away from a CFL record, and he dropped what should have been number 18 right there. Vanderjagt comes on. And Mike Vanderjagt puts it through. 8 minutes, 34 seconds to go here in the first half in Winnipeg. Argos with a 10-point lead.
Well, even the superstars in this game make some mistakes from time to time, and Robert Drummond made one here as Flutie's going to make a perfect throw right on target. Drummond, all he has to do is suck it in and turn it into the end zone and up off the chest.
Bombers take possession at their own 35, and they hand off to Tyrone Montgomery. This time Andrew Stewart is there. Marcelo Simmons, and they limit the gain to a couple.
Well, Toronto's trying to put their linebackers a little tighter to the line and take away that play right now. They got great flow from Marcelo Simmons coming across. Same trap play by the pulling guards, trying to create a little seam for Montgomery to burst through.
Now Joe Paopao, I guess every offensive coordinator wants to eliminate the 2nd and longs, but that stat shows you why. Here's Vargas, Dexter Dawson on the hitch, and that was well defended by Donald Smith.
Well, they're supposed to have somebody blocking the corner, and nobody blocked the corner. If you're going to screen to one of your receivers, you have to have somebody assigned to block the man that's covering your screen guy, and nobody gets out to block. You want your tackle probably to slip out there, Chris Walby, and make that block.
That's exactly right, David. What happened on that play is Craig Hendrickson is supposed to shuck his man or push him to the inside and release and kick out the corner Donald Smith. He goes upfield rather than going lateral, causes the problem.
Cameron again kicking into the wind. Clements from his 40. And again slips out of the tackle of Greg Battle before he goes down. Let's join Mark Lee.
Chris, on the Bomber bench with Phil Toll, the psychology coach who's come down to help the Bombers from the St. Louis Rams. Phil, what can you bring to this team that might be missing?
Well, Mark, we'll find out, won't we? We'll soon find out. What we're trying to do is really extend upon what Jeff Reinbold is doing with the team already. All right, he feels that the mental approach to the game is a much used word or phrase, but is not necessarily expressed as a family unit and on and off the field. And he wants to find out if the mental edge can be gained. If that could be the competitive edge.
Speaking of the mental edge, after that blown fumble call on Flutie, the way the team reacted with the touchdown, is that something you were encouraged by?
Very much so. We want this game because this game will measure where we are along the way. We need these kind of games that will test us. And this is one of those kinds of games, and that's one of those kinds of situations. Down here with a field goal, we stopped them. I thought that was another evidence of their character.
All right, Phil, thanks for your time.
Mark, thanks very much. A pleasure to be here in Winnipeg.
Okay. Chris?
Well, he'll be on the coaching staff next year. I like the way
he's certainly positive. I like the way he is on the sideline.
He said Jeff Reinbold's personal philosophy allows him to go beyond the usual. First down throw for Mazzotti, and Flutie would like to have that back. Incomplete. Gloves back on.
Well, whenever he's missed, he's had the gloves on, and I know he's trying them out to try to get a feel for him to see if he needs to use them in the postseason, and if they have a chance to go all the way to Edmonton. That obviously still in doubt, very much so, and the people in Montreal have something to say about that, but he wants to try them out because he knows that it's probably going to be an inclement situation there. He would like to have an opportunity to wear them.
David Archer is hoping to see some success because I think you have a little scheme, little marketing scheme with Doug planned, dude. 2nd and 10. Flutie, down he goes again. Shante Peoples, the 3rd time they've sacked Flutie.
And Mike, if you look at Mike Kislick right here, he's talking Dan Payne. There's a mix-up in the play. He's trying to figure out what's going on right now because people should never come that free. You see him come from the right side of your screen. Mike Kislick, 63, is supposed to get out there and cut him. Allow Doug to get to the corner.
Well, Kiselak was pass blocking. He didn't realize this was a counter play for Flutie to run the ball. Kiselak sets the pass and cuts off the 2 counter linemen. So Mike makes a mistake there, and that's a rarity for him. He's one of the best.
Boy, Shante Peoples has missed 4 games, and he has 8 sacks. Vanderjagt shakes it. This one off the side of his foot into the Bombers bench. So a big turn of events here. First the Flutie sack, and then the short cut by Vanderjagt.
Well, I know this is something Chris Walby never did, but Mike Kiselak, the 96 Offensive Lineman of the Year, is right here. He's the center. He's got a different call than everybody else has. He's pass setting. They're trying to pull. You see Giaskis is trying to pull to get in front of Flutie. The whole play's blown up.
The sack, then a 16-yard punt by Vanderjagt, and the Bombers get the football at their 45. Here's Stiegel on the reverse. Milt Stiegel trying to get outside, but Donald Smith won't let him turn it upfield. Great play by Smith.
And again, the Bomber offensive line, we saw a quick hitch before, and Craig Hendrickson didn't get out there. This time, Mike Mihalik is supposed to get out there. They almost had a little confusion there. 2 guys going to the same blocker. You see Craig's getting out there right now, and there comes Mike Mihalik back. They've got to get the corner. The corner is the key block in that play. So to give the running back or the option guy around the corner freedom to run.
You're exactly right. Don't block anybody behind the ball carrier. Run in front of the ball carrier to block.
Loss of 3, 2nd and 13. Pressure on Vargas, who got it away. Dexter Dawson unable to bring it in. Johnny Harris there in coverage. And for the 5th time this afternoon, it's 2 and out for the Bomber offense.
And one of the things here, we talk, Brett McNeil, one of the old veterans here, he helps the center, picks up Andrew Stewart, does a really nice job of keeping him and walling him to the outside to give Chris Vargas a lane to throw.
Well, the ball's dropped by Dexter Dawson as the ball was thrown a little low. He's getting ready to get hit, but the key to the whole thing is they keep Winnipeg in 2nd and long. Now Vargas has to throw the ball underneath. They're not going to pick up the first down on that play anyway.
Well, this crosswind has played havoc with both punters today. Short punt. Charles Anthony got his hands on it. There is a flag for no yards. The Bombers are on the football, but this is going to stay with Toronto, I think.
One of the problems with this is the fact that when you get a low kick like that and the ball is bouncing around crazily on the turf, it may hit either your covering team or the receiving team and bounce, and then it becomes a live ball.
And I got a major problem with this penalty. You know, unless the receiving guy catches it, that's fine. But this is a bad kick. Charles Anthony makes a poor decision to try to catch the football, and Winnipeg recovers a loose ball, but they get penalized for being around a guy that makes a bad play. So I just don't agree with the call. I think that rule needs to change. I don't think that is within the rule or within the concept of making the game better. I think that affects the game.
I agree with you.
Winnipeg's right on top of the ball there. It takes them away out of a chance to have a score here.
You see Nick Ferguson just a yard or two away from Anthony, who effectively was one of the up men. And so Flutie now throwing, looking for Mazzotti, and he's drilled by Borgella after he dropped the football, and the flag flies, and Robert Davis is the first to come over to Borgella.
This is something you can't do as a defense, as a team. I mean, I can understand the frustration starting to build, but Jocelyn Borgella sees Mazzotti drop an easy catch, a second catch we've seen by Toronto receivers to drop it. You can see Flutie hits him right in the hands here. He's not even trying to turn up and go before he catches the ball. He just simply drops it. And Jocelyn Borgella is going to say, I'm going to make sure that you know I'm around you anyway.
And you know what this does is this extends the idea that Winnipeg is hitting beyond when they're supposed to hitting. And there certainly shouldn't have been a shot taken there.
So it's a first down. Flutie over the middle, and he has a receiver. Andre Kerwin with his second catch.
And
go ahead, Chris.
They keep putting Sammy Brennan in a bind. They keep bringing him across. He's having to pick up the receiver. Cuts across. Andre Kerwin this time comes across the middle. Sammy Brennan is always in a pursuit position. It's becoming a game of pitch and catch with Flutie and his receivers right now.
Argos threatening. They have a 10-point lead. Here's Flutie looking over the middle into the end zone. No one home there. Closest man to the football was Reggie Carthon. And it looks like Flutie wants to talk to a receiver about a mix-up.
Well, he had zero coverage, which means the free safety is going to vacate the middle of the field and come down and cover someone. That's what Sammy Brennan was doing there. And when you're a quarterback and you have time, since you have the time, you're going to try to go downfield and hurt a team that wants to blitz you. And he was looking for Daryl Mitchell to be down the middle. Instead, Mitchell stayed out in the seam, and they didn't connect on the throw.
Ball at the Winnipeg 14, 2nd and 10. Here comes the rush. Flag down. Pass is incomplete. Mazzotti well covered by Nick Ferguson. But this is as much pressure as we've seen on Doug Flutie. Yeah, that may be why on that last play, an offside against Winnipeg being called.
Well, you can see Shante Peoples. One of the things about him is, we talked about him earlier, he's excited. He's at the top right here. He just wants to get the jump. He's leaning. His body's leaning. He wants to get the first step to get ahead of the tackle right now to put the tackle in a bad position. He does get a hit on him, but unfortunately he left one stride too late.
And you know what happened? You know what happens to Shante Peoples? He's so quick that the referee can't believe that he can get around the tackle that quick, and he gets flagged. I don't believe he was offside there. Yeah, he was leaning, but I don't think he's threatening the neutral zone.
Gives Doug Flutie another down. 2nd and 5. Flutie pulls it down himself, and Flutie scores. Touchdown, Doug Flutie on the quarterback draw.
Well, Doug can kill you a million ways. If he's throwing the ball, if he's handing the ball off, if he's doing a short passing game, and then he has always the option with his ability to run of going up the middle. He's done it time and time again and killed teams, and he's starting to drive some nails in the coffin right now.
Did this last year in the Grey Cup game. Flutie's third touchdown of the season. Jack, the extra point. And just under 3 minutes to go now in the first half. And the Argos have opened up a 17-point lead.
Doug Flutie calls all the plays on this offense, and a lot of times he'll call his own number. You see what he's done here? He's distributed his people out wide. They're all out wide over here, pulling defenders out of the play. That allows him to call his own number, the quarterback draw. All the offensive line has to do is create a crease at the first level, and he's in the end zone.
Bill Stiegel misplays the kickoff. He'll be wise to give up the single point now. He does put the knee down. It's a 25-7 Argo lead. Talking to Mike Roach, the defensive coordinator yesterday, Chris, about tendencies, and he said the Argos, when they have the 3 receivers to either side, 65 times out of 70 will pass the football, and the other 5 times Doug Flutie will pull it down, and he did in that case.
And the hard thing about it is, if you're a gambling man, do you bet on the 5 times or you bet on the 60 times he throws? But you know what they have to do. We talked about the team psychologist now. I think they got to get him involved now. I mean, really, bring up the spirits. Don't let these guys hold their tents right now. There's still a lot of time to play. If they can get some stuff consistently on offense and get some points, they can be back in this ballgame.
They've just been handing the ball back to Flutie too many times in this first half. 5 2-and-out situations. See if Vargas can get things going. Stiegel, and he ran into a wall wearing number 50 and dropped the ball. Big Mike O'Shea's had a big first half.
And as a receiver, you got to hate coming across the middle when you got a guy that big just waiting to knock your head off.
I would think you would hate that, yeah.
Well, 2nd and 10, and they've been unable to come up with the big play in 2nd and long so far. And that one knocked down as Vargas released the football. Is that Reggie Gibbons?
Reggie Gibbons, and what Toronto did on this play is all they're doing is running a stunt. Reggie Gibbons lines up, starts to cheat into the middle, runs a little stunt, runs around the inside. The offensive linemen, of course, have to pick this up. You have to communicate the change. You'll see him come in the inside of your line here, gets his hand up, does a nice job of knocking the ball down. When you're winning, you can play games and not worried about getting burnt, and that's what's happening with Toronto right now. They have the confidence, they have the lead, they're starting to play little games with the offensive line of Winnipeg.
That's Chris Vargas talking to Kevin McDougall on the sideline. Kevin was injured in the Toronto game a couple of weeks ago.
Great kick by Cameron. Clemens from his 31. Working his way out to the 38. 2:36 to go until the half. Here's Mark.
Chris, here's what's coming up at the half. Chris Walby revisits the old Bomber locker room and a chat man-to-man with Brett McNeil, the big offensive lineman who is filling his shoes now as a leader in the clubhouse. We'll also have the first half analysis as the Argos put it on cruise control here with 2:36 to go tonight.
Dave, have you noticed the extra emphasis on offensive linemen on the broadcast this year?
Well, they deserve it. That's rightly so.
Yeah. That's a great first halftime feature, too.
Thank you very much.
You'll want to watch that. Here's Daryl Mitchell, and Don Matthews talked about Daryl Mitchell dropping the football last week for really the first time all season long, and there's another drop for Mitchell, who has a touchdown catch this afternoon.
Well, he's not the only one. We've seen Mazzotti drop a ball, Drummond dropped a touchdown pass, so everybody on this team, and Toronto's a little out of sync. We're not seeing probably the best Toronto has played all year long, yet look at the scoreboard. They're ahead 25-7. That tells you a little bit about how powerful they really are.
2nd and 10. Flutie scampering out of trouble. Flag goes down. Flutie gets to the sidelines untouched. But this is likely coming back.
That's a great call, Chris. They're going to call holding, and Winnipeg is trying to run some games now of their own, trying to confuse the offensive line. They run a little inside move on Willie Williams, get some of the interior linemen of Toronto to do the only thing they possibly can, which is drag a guy down. You can see Willie Williams.
Well, let's get that on replay now. Chris Walby just said great call holding.
Well,
you never said that before.
I've had it against me a few times.
You never said it was a great call, though.
Well, no, you never agree with it, but you can see on that replay, Willie Williams gets his hand on the back, and you're not allowed, and you're supposed to be inside on the chest.
Second down over, 20 now for Flutie and the Argos. 4 receivers to the right. And Flutie throwing it deep for Mazzani. And the ball incomplete, but Mazzani was bumped by Borgella. And it looks like the second consecutive series that Borgella will be flagged.
Don Matthews, he wants him to pick up the pace a little bit, get back from the line of scrimmage. Here's the interference call. Obviously, Borgella never looks back for the ball, runs right through Mazzotti trying to gear down to make a short catch.
And Grant Carter's running a little stunt with Colin Scrivener, does a great job of coming inside of Dan Payne, and that's what they have to keep doing, pressure Doug Flutie. And if you think it's fun in there, take a look at that contact. There's not a lot of love lost out there right now, people.
Up to the Winnipeg 49, Flutie rolling, and has Mitchell. And Mitchell dragged down at the 35. The Argo offense moving again.
Well, the only way you can contribute defensively if you're on the defensive line is by tagging the quarterback. You see Davis is coming on the blitz, but Grant Carter, this is the second time in a row he's been on top of Doug Flutie. His job is to continue to try to put number 2 on the ground.
And they're doing a great job of getting pressure on Doug Flutie, but they seem to be having some breakdowns in the coveraging in their defensive backfield, allowing easy catches right now that are breaking their back.
Daryl Mitchell's got over 1,000 yards on the season. Flutie flushed out, now unloads downfield, incomplete. Well, the Bombers are really working Flutie over and Paul Mazzotti. Chris Gioscas down, and he's getting attention.
And they've actually been worried about Chris Gioscas has a little bit of a knee problem. He's been bothering for a number of times, and Jeremy O'Day has come in, and Don Matthews has said, done an admirable job both at right tackle and left tackle when Willie Williams was hurt, so they might not lose too much, but you never like to lose a starter in your offensive lineman just for the cohesion factor.
All is coming with the minute 47 to go in the half. And the Argos with an 18-point lead.
Right there is Gioscas. He's going against Grant Carter. Oh, he gets fallen on from behind. Teammate got him. Chris Kiselak fell on his leg from behind.
This is one of the scariest things about football when you got this many big men in a short space. A lot of times there's a lot of bodies falling, and you can see that the guy fell on the back of his leg, and you can't control it. And those are the worst type of injuries because you can't see it coming, and you're not tensed, you're not ready for it. And a lot of times it can be a real serious injury. You can blow a lot of ligaments and cartilage.
Well, fortunately, he's putting a lot of weight on the leg. It looked like he just twisted it a little bit. And you talked about Jeremy O'Day coming into the game. He and Gioscas actually have alternated at the tackle position for most of the season. So O'Day comes in having started a couple of ball games at the position. So it's not like they're coming in with someone that has no idea what he's doing. This guy's been on the field quite a bit.
And, of course, when you have a winning season and you're scoring a lot of points, you have the opportunity to play a lot of people. And that also comes into effect when you get a chance to play guys that might normally not start.
So the Argos looking at a 2nd and 10 from the Bomber 35. Flutie looking deep, wide open, Daryl Mitchell, touchdown. Second touchdown for Mitchell as he took a hit near the goal line from Brandon Hamilton, but landed in the end zone.
The blown coverage. Jocelyn Borgella does not get to where he's supposed to be in the coverage. Carthon comes up. He's playing the inside area. Daryl Mitchell just runs right down the seam. There, it's so bad that You don't even see a Winnipeg Blue Bomber until Brandon Hamilton comes in and makes the hit right at the goal line. That's how blown the coverage was.
And this is the second blown coverage. Dwayne Dimitrishin taking advantage of another blown coverage for a big play to lead another touchdown by Toronto.
I tell you, Mitchell's just getting hotter by the week. That's 7 touchdowns in the last 4 weeks, 9 touchdowns in 6 weeks.
Daddy got one more.
Robert Drummond better watch out.
Well, Daryl Mitchell just continues to rack up the stats in what we think is a Rookie of the Year drive. Doug Flutie not really much sorting out on this one. He just sees his favorite target come wide open, and you see just how wide open he is as Hamilton comes over and puts the big lick on him at the end. Doug Flutie celebrating, and that time the gloves didn't affect the throw. He stuck it in there with the gloves on. But it's getting back to Borgiello, who we feel like may have blown the coverage on Daryl Mitchell. He's replacing Shannon Garrett, and Garrett leads his team in interceptions. That happens when you have to replace people, but Mitchell just continues to make plays.
And talking to Mike Roach yesterday, he felt so confident going into this game because he said this will be the 3rd game in a row they have the same defensive backfield, so he thought there might be a little cohesion in there, a little understanding, a little switch-off.
Well, here we are with the Argos, 32 points, still 1:40 to go in the first half. I get the impression this is a much tougher Winnipeg defense today, and they're still putting up the points at the same pace. Tyrone Montgomery, after mishandling it, just up to the 16-yard line.
Chris, I think what's happening here is Winnipeg defensively is playing very well for spurts, and then they go, it's like a car, you drive around, it runs good until you get to the gas station and breaks down. They keep getting these big breakdowns that are just killing themselves and taking any opportunity they have of winning this football away from them, and they're going to go into halftime really down.
And what do you do at halftime here? Do you allow the psychologists to talk to the team, or do you talk to the team X's and O's wise? Who's going to talk to the team at halftime?
They got to do whatever they have to do right now.
That's the way it'll sort itself out, right?
Chris Vargas has got to get something done, and that one almost ended up in the hands of Marcelo Simmons.
Well, the lead has done one thing also. It's taken Winnipeg, I think, out of their game. They don't want to run the ball anymore. They're down now. They have to put the ball in the air. That's effectively what Toronto wants to do, as we see some push-ups. Marcelo Simmons doing push-ups, self-punishment there.
Should have had the pick, and he knows it. Well, Vargas was saying yesterday the Argo defense not only can be confusing for a quarterback, but for the receivers, for the offensive linemen. It's a tremendous challenge, and we're seeing it again today. This one is picked off. Lester Smith has it, and it goes from bad to worse for this Bomber team. The Argos get the ball back in Winnipeg territory with a lot of time on the clock.
I don't know what this means, but David Archer is warming up in the telecast booth right now.
Well, certainly you're going to, I would suspect if McDougal is in uniform, he will probably have a chance to play. We talked to Don Matthews. Matthews talked about how, I said, what worries you as a quarterback when you see a quarterback? Your defense is playing so well. Is there anything that worries you defensively? And he says, yeah, a quarterback that can move. Kevin McDougal can do that. And with this play by Vargas, the interception of Lester Smith, I would think that if McDougal is healthy enough, he will be in the ballgame.
5th interception of the year for Lester Smith. Puts the ball right back in Floaty's hands. That pass incomplete, but a flag goes down. Courtney Griffin, the former Argo, was bumping with the intended receiver.
All day, represent, baby. All day, every day.
It's been like that most of the year, our day, every day.
Well, this will be an interesting call. You got procedure by Toronto, and you got pass interference by Winnipeg.
Difference is 5 yards in the Argos' favor, and it'll be 1st down and 5.
Now, that's one of those funny penalties. I mean, if you're offside in your procedure and yet you still get an interference call, you wonder how they can give you something when you've already gone wrong in the beginning.
And now the officials will reconfirm their decision. And it will stand as a 1st and 5 for Flutie. And the Argonauts, 32-7. 98 points in just under 6 quarters against Winnipeg. And what's going on?
Well, they didn't reset the 20-second game clock for Flutie, so when he got to the line of scrimmage, he had no time left on the clock. So George Black, the referee today, hindered his opportunity to get the play off.
Now we're ready to go. Drummond inside, down to the 15, another 1st down.
And another nice job by Shante Peoples, coming off the right or the left side, short side end, reads it, flows to the ball, makes a nice tackle. You see, they got a little formation here. Doug's just going to hand the ball off to Drummond. Drummond's going to follow as Big Willie Williams around the hole. But Shante People does a great job coming from the short side.
Robert Drummond again, down to 5 and to the 3-yard line. Drummond with back-to-back 1st down carries. And the Argos knocking at the door again.
Again, we've talked about how Doug's calling the plays. He's just putting it on Robert Drummond's back and that big offensive line. They're just blowing him off the football now. The last 2 run plays, there's been a huge crease. Before Drummond has even seen a defender, has been about 5 or 6 yards in the hole. They're blowing people off the ball.
1st and goal. Drummond going to take it in. Touchdown. His 18th of the year. And the Argonauts are dismantling the Blue Bombers on their home turf again.
Well, that was too easy. That was way too easy. They ran the ball 3 times. The offensive line just completely obliterated the middle part of the Winnipeg defense, and Drummond just falls in behind that surge for the touchdown. They did it 3 times in a row.
And one of the things that's very disturbing as a coach is watching your defensive line accept blocks. What I mean by that is the Toronto offensive line is coming off. Instead of defensive line of Winnipeg trying to get around them, they're taking the blocks, absorbing the blocks, and letting them take them wherever they want to go.
Early movement before the Vanderjagt kick. Well, I think Dr. Phil Toll may have the biggest job of all coming up.
Well, coming into the game, you never expected to stop Toronto's offense. What you expected is for your offense to come out and do a few things for you to allow you to stay in the ball game. The offense has done nothing today. Subsequently, their defense has played the whole game. And if Flutie's on the field, he's going to make plays.
Vanderjagt from 5 yards further back.
And there's a psychologist. I think the thing that these guys are going to have to do is, I don't know if the psychologist can really help these guys, but they're going to have to start looking within themselves. You can't watch Toronto's offensive line. I mean, they're coming off Mike Kissel, Pierre Berchevaux, Willie Williams. I mean, Grant Carter is right beside the Coke sign. When you can push your defensive end who has played a good game 5 yards back in the end zone, you know that you're dominating. That is a great block, just total control. You gotta love that as out of your offensive line, and when you got this kind of a lead and you can just eat the clock up like this, it's backbreaking.
But you know, this got out of hand because the Winnipeg offense just wasn't moving the ball. Chris Vargas doesn't have a completion in the 2nd quarter, and it's just been 2 and out on a 2 regular basis. Joe Pow knows it.
Well, everybody thought I was joking when I said there was a courier came up here and they offered a contract. Right now they're sitting down with David Archer offering a contract to come and see if he can suit up in the 2nd half, and I think they need to do something because they need something to spark this team.
Here's Siegel. Milt Siegel kicks it outside. Well, it's been a while between big plays for the Bombers, and their big play guy comes up with a return to get it into Argo territory.
And how often have we gotten to call Stiegel's name today? Not very much. They're not making a point of getting the ball in his hands. This is the guy that can, they finally get him back on kickoff. He misplayed one. This one he misplays again. But watch the speed with which he's run right there. That's Adrian Smith, one of the top corners in this league, and he just runs right away from it. I mean, that shows you the big play capability of this guy. Now you need to get him the ball on offense or something to get him the football.
47 yards on the kickoff return for Stiegel, and they look to Stiegel. Well, Archer hasn't gone down to the field, but he's calling the plays. You know, I asked Chris Vargas that yesterday. From an outsider point of view, they just don't seem to throw him the ball much, and his response was that you read the defense and you take what you get.
Well, I think that's probably true to a point, but I think when you got a guy of his big play capabilities, you want to put it in his hands as much as possible, and if you have to look for him, look for him.
Looking for Sean Graham that time, incomplete. But even in the win against BC last week, and Stiegel had another big play touchdown, but really, Vargas said I only threw to him 3 or 4 times in the game.
Well, he only has 6 receptions before this ball game coming in. They played Toronto twice before this. He only had 6 receptions against this Toronto team. That tells me they're not trying to get him the football or there's great coverage, which is probably a combination of the both.
2nd and 10 from the 37. Another 2nd and long that they've been unable to convert. So far, Stiegel has it knocked out of his hands, and they're calling it a fumble, and they'll turn it over.
Well, when things go bad, they go bad. I mean, Milt is probably more dejected with himself than anybody in the stadium.
No, but Milt Stiegel, he's their big play guy. Now, Milt has to accept that responsibility. He has to know he's kind of jogging right here. Now he changes gears. The ball's thrown well. He's got to take care of the football. Now he has to know that, hey, I'm the only big play guy on the field, and I know my quarterback has to get me the ball. Now he has to step up and make the plays for him. If it's on target, he's got to hang on to the football.
Exactly, and the fact is they were moving the ball, and they needed to get some points before this half. There's only 21 seconds. You can't keep doing this to yourself.
Now, guys, based on the psychological theme of the day, would you call that fumble a Freudian slip? 2nd fumble for the Bombers in the half, and they have not done that much this year, but everything's unraveled.
Well, the guy that jarred the fumble loose, Johnny Harris, and you see Lester Smith there who had the recovery. The man that jarred it loose is Johnny Harris, and he's a guy that Bill Bradley, this defensive coordinator, had in San Antonio, and we're going to watch Doug Flutie kneel down again and kill the clock of the half. But Johnny Harris is the guy that impressed Bill Bradley so much in practice in '95. He did everything he could do to get him on this Toronto team because he's made so many plays in practice, stripping the ball out, interceptions. That's the kind of guy he is, and he's done that this year for this defense.
Well, the Argonauts, juggernaut, continues to run roughshod over the Blue Bombers in Winnipeg. We're at the half. Don Matthews' team up by a bundle.
Shades of 3 weeks to go at the half. Toronto leads the error and penalty-prone Blue Bombers 39-7 at halftime. Well, when Blue Bomber offensive lineman Brett McNeil was traded here 6 years ago from his native Ottawa, he was an angry young man. He spent most of the season in a funk. His teammates nicknamed him Bitter. But this season, as a free agent, he re-signed with the Blue Bombers, and with the retirement of Chris Walby, has found himself as a team leader, as Chris found in a recent visit to the locker room.
One of the nice things that can happen to any player in any sport is when he leaves that sport, is to have his number retired. And not only retired, but enshrine it in a plastic museum. And that's fantastic, except for the fact that my wallet is still in there. But on a serious note, one of the things you miss about it is the hitting, the headaches, the smell of the locker room, and of course, the teammates. Hey, Brett, how you doing? Hey, Chris. Boy, I tell you what, first half of the year, kind of a tough thing going right now.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's been really tough.
Well, I know from the years I was here that you've always wanted to be the mayor of this team. Now, are you now the mayor of the Winnipeg Football Club and the O-line in particular?
Well, you said it, but if that's the role I have to play on this team, when the older guys have left, that's where we'll all play.
And what does that entail? What do you have to take guys, grab by the neck, smack them across the head? What do you have to do as a leader here?
I tried that last week and got fined for it. You like to grab guys and shake it out of them sometimes, but we've got the ingredients in this place, and I think it's only a matter of time before we get this turned around.
Well, one of the things that I like about you is, playing with you is you've always been a very, very aggressive player. Do you think that's a good thing?
Aggression is something that it just comes natural. It's something that you just want to smack people in the mouth at every opportunity, and you enjoy it, and you enjoy the contact, and that's why we play football. In the trenches it gets very down and dirty, and you're going to say something about their mother every once in a while and get them upset, because you don't want those guys thinking about the quarterback or your running back. You want them thinking about you.
Do you feel that you're a marked man by the referees?
Maybe I am a marked man. Maybe they're looking at me. Often I'm warned before I am flagged. Sometimes I don't go by that warning, and I decide that if the game isn't going our way, sometimes you have to get downfield and create something, make something happen, and that's all I'm trying to do.
Now, speaking of holding on a nicer note, about 9 months ago, you and your wife, Anna, were doing a little holding, and I understand there were no flags thrown, but maybe you can tell me the result of that.
Well, that's been the greatest thrill of my life so far. We had a baby girl, Victoria, and tell you what, changes everything.
And what are some of the things that you're really looking forward to do?
Well, I still haven't changed my first diaper. I'm a week in, and I still haven't done it. I've watched quite a few being changed.
That's a beautiful thing, let me tell you.
Yeah, I think I'll get my feet wet later today. It's something I'm looking forward to. I want to take care of the little girl.
Chris Walby with a brand new definition of holding in the CFL, and there he is, Brett McNeil, likely going back to being an angry young man given the circumstances at the half. His Blue Bombers in tough, down 39-7 to Toronto. We're back after this. Welcome back to Winnipeg, where Doug Flutie has thrown 2 touchdown passes and run for another himself. The Argos in a 39-7 rout of the Bombers and only halfway home. And a reminder that you can join us on our CFL on CBC homepage on the internet. There's the address. We've got coaching tips with Big Chris Walby. You can ask CFL players questions yourselves. We've got scouting reports every week on upcoming games. And, of course, every Tuesday night, we feature our commentator chat line. And the featured guest this week on Tuesday at 9 Eastern, Big Dave Archer. 39-7 Argos at the half, and no truth to the rumor, gentlemen, that we will be switching to a remake of Little House on the Prairie for the second half.
I never anticipated there'd be 39 points for the Argos in one half against a rebuilt, revamped Winnipeg defense, but I think we all agree that you can almost hang more of this deficit on the Winnipeg offense.
Well, we talked about the fact that they had to control the ball, they had to take some of the clock off, take Doug Flutie out of the game. They haven't done that. They've been in second and long. They've not converted. They just keep turning the ball over to Toronto, and Toronto just takes advantage of it and keep doing it. Right here, you have a handoff. Pinball Clemens up the middle. Great surge by the defensive line, who has played pretty good, but they don't wrap it up. They don't tackle. Bam, pinball goes out there. Doug Flutie, a quarterback, million-dollar man, makes a great block and brings him again to the outside.
Well, the only real highlight for the offense for Winnipeg was this run by Tyrone Montgomery in a blitz coverage situation. Montgomery found the crease, but that's really the only breathing room this Winnipeg team has seen, because Toronto has just continued to pour it on offensively as Darryl Mitchell exploits a secondary that's blown several coverages again today, and he gets in, he's not even a Winnipeg guy in sight. So it's a matter of making mistakes, a team that's not rising up to the occasion.
And I'm not sure what the doctor said yesterday, but that psyche is really taking a bruising again.
It has to be. Who talked to the team? That's what I want to know. Did Reinbold talk to the team, or did the Drew Dawson talk to the team?
You think Kevin McDougall coming out for the second half?
I think Kevin McDougall has to play. Don Matthews talked about getting a quarterback that causes problems is one that can move.
Mark?
Well, the Bombers trying to rev up the engine to save face in the second half. They're en route to another dismal performance against the juggernaut Toronto Argos. And the wind picking up. Kevin McDougall has the jacket still on. Chris Vargas looks like he will be the man to start the second half at quarterback for Winnipeg.
bomb situations. Try to get something generated. Our crack stats man, George Judy here, just handed me a note that they're averaging 2nd and 11 in the first half. And that, you just can't win football games that way. Vanderjagt to kick it off. Cairo Montgomery lets it bounce over. That's the 3rd time today the Bombers have really misplayed a kickoff. And you need another single point. So 2 seconds into the second half, and the Argos are adding to their lead. Well, the first half passes are ugly. Time of possession into the turnovers. You see the 4 turnovers. That's really the only glaring thing that the Argos have done wrong today. And boy, do their stats continue to pile up against the rest of the league. Their defense is number 1 in 19 of the 25 categories. They'll be number 1 in all 25 before this one's over with. So McDougall stays on the sideline, and Vargas remains at quarterback. Montgomery with a flag down, and he'll go down after a gain of maybe a yard or two. Reggie Gibbons in the middle of it.
Well, they're trying to come back to the run and try and get something established, get the ground game going. They know they're way behind in points, but if they're going to try and establish something, try and build on something, unfortunately, this is not the way to do it. Just taking a holding penalty, puts you 15 yards back.
Can't do this. Okay, you come out of a locker room, you have to make a commitment by the man. Every man has to make a commitment. I'm not going to make a mistake that's going to keep us from moving the football. We get a holding penalty, move to that, now you're 2nd and 20.
And the worst part is it's the backside of the play by Big Chris Perez. You're just cutting off. There's no excuse for taking a holding backside.
Back at the 25, 1st and 20, and Vargas was signaling to Montgomery behind him, now throwing it out, and this is picked off. Johnny Harris. We were talking about him late in the first half, Dave. Johnny Harris making another play. Well, he was on our scout defense in San Antonio, and he just continued so many plays. He picked me off in practice, sore fumbles loose, and he's gotten Chris Vargas here. Another turnover. This is a poor throw. You see the ball wobbling. It's underthrown. Thrown a little late into double coverage. And you got to credit him trying to get it to Spiegel, but you can't force it into coverage to get it to Spiegel.
Now, you can't throw balls that shouldn't be thrown. They can throw it deep, just the defense, put it where nobody else can catch it.
Doug Flutie remains in, drops it off over the middle. That's Norm Cisola, the 7th different receiver, catching the football. Well, Norm was anxious to get in and wanted us to say hi to his dad, Poofy Cisola, who at 69 years of age, Norm was saying is still the best goaltender in Sault Ste. Marie. Johnny Harris with his 3rd interception. Toronto. Well, Doug Flutie can get the ball to Jeremy O'Day. He has every receiver happy in his repertoire. Flag down. Over the middle, Mazzotti takes the shot from Courtney Griffin. Incomplete. There's Kevin McDougall, and I guess the question as far as McDougall is concerned is he ready to come back after the knee injury he suffered against the Argonauts 3 weeks ago? Well, he pulled the jacket off and it's getting late. You see the procedure call against Toronto, and my guess is he's going to try to go. I don't know that he was healthy. Well, he talked to him yesterday.
I talked to him, and he said that he was close but not there. He didn't think he'd have to play. He was hoping he wouldn't have to play. He wanted to really get 100% before he came back, but they have to do something, and if it's just putting him in at 90%, they will.
So 2nd and 10. Flags are flying. There's plenty of activity in the trenches there. Looks like the Bombers were offside. Were they drawn? If they were. Okay, this is a procedure penalty on the offensive line, but what? It's just he got a little lean going there. The reason he had the lean is because his responsibility was to get out wide. They had a blitzing defensive back, and he's the uncovered lineman, meaning no one on his head. He has to get out and get that day. It's a long way for the center to go.
And I'm going to say something that not many centers, if any, can get out, snap the ball ball and get out to the far side of the field.
Second and 15. All day for Flutie. Now he's flushed out. And throws to Devin Christian, and it's picked off. Brandon Hamilton up with the football, in and out of the hands of Devin Christian, and Hamilton has his third pick of the year. If the score was not 20-7, Doug Flutie would have never made that throw. I think he tried to fit one in simply because they're up, and he was trying to make a play that he would not have tried to make had they been in a close ball game here. Doug Flutie on the dead run, trying to sort things out, and he forces it to Devin Christian, and Brandon Hamilton falls back inside, makes the play. I don't believe he makes that throw. This score is 14-7.
But again, the defense does come up a bit. Now it's up to the offense. We talked about them. They've got to do something.
Just talked to Kevin McDougall. I asked him if he was ready to play. He smiled and said, I've got to be smart. I said, is the knee still tender? He said yes.
And it may get tested right away. McDougall on the move, and he's brought down quickly by Reggie Gibbons.
And one of the things about a quarterback with mobility, as David Archer alluded to earlier, is when he is healthy, he is a threat. But if he has an injury to his knee, it's tender, he's going to protect it. I don't think you're going to see him running as effectively as he probably could have used 100%.
Certainly not. He looked pretty nifty there, though. He made a couple people miss, and he's working on a sore knee, but look at him jumping over people, and he gets it loose. He may have a little adrenaline flow, or he gets it working pretty good for him. Second and 6 after the 4-yard carry. McDougall on the run again. And Tim Benson nails him at the 29. And that will be close to the first down. But McDougall's living dangerously. Well, you saw the tenderness of the knee right there. He couldn't cut, he couldn't slide, dive, do anything. He's had to gear down and sit down because he doesn't feel like he can slant. The knee's not stable to the outside on the structure of the knee, and Bill Palpau sees that they're close, and if they're even reasonably close, they have to go here. Bill Palpau says they're short. Well, not even as much as Palpau thought, just an inch or two. In this situation, anytime you're in the yard, you have to go.
Well, one of the nice things about this is you see the protection right here by Chris Perez. He's doing a real nice job on Waldrop. Takes him, works him, gets his hands in there wherever he can, just takes him out of the play, rides him up, creates a lane. Now he has an opportunity to throw the ball or take off and run with the ball, which he has done the last few times.
So the coaches confer as the third down gamble. McDougall will easily have it. Following Dave Van Jordan. Well, goal one has been reached by Kevin McDougall. His job was to come in and get a first down. He has done that. Now he would like to string a couple together and move them down the field and obviously get points. But he's done his first thing, as that was come in and move his teams, move them for a first down. And Chris Vargas takes a step back after a couple of promising weeks. And that may sound trivial, getting a first down, but they got to start from square one offensively. Tyrone Montgomery. 7 yards. Chris was saying that earlier. They got away from the run because they were behind, but at 40-7, don't you just play a fresh half of football and see what you can do positively?
Yeah, you do. You have to. I mean, you got new quarterback there, McDougall. You can see the offensive line does a great job. They do a little scoop block there with Chris Perez and Brent McNeil. Run level blocking on the linebackers. Do a great job opening a hole. Tyrone Montgomery takes advantage there.
So second and 3 after the 7-yard Montgomery pickup. And they'll swing it up to Montgomery. Incomplete with the flag down. I'm not so sure that wasn't a lateral in a live football, but ruled an incomplete pass.
Well, you got to give these guys credit. When you're down this much, it's tough to stay in the game mentally. You want to play hard. You want to keep going. As an offensive lineman, you're tired. You want to hit somebody. You want to keep running the ball. You want to do certain things, but you do not want to give it up. It's going to come to the point pretty soon where you're going to have to gamble on third down just to try and keep the ball.
Dimitrition letting that one go through his hands. Incomplete.
Doug not too happy about that. I mean, he's got an opportunity to swing a pass out to Dimitrition. He's got guys blocking in front of him. Excellent blocking by the receivers downfield. But another case of the drop.
Oh, the little screen play set up for Demonstration. You know, the wind's blowing real hard here at Winnipeg Stadium, and it affects the ball. It moves around. We've seen several balls drop that we really haven't seen happen with the Argos throughout the year, so we have to think that the wind's playing a little heavy for some of the balls they've thrown. Once again, this is the last outdoor game for the Argos until the postseason. Looking downfield for Clements, and that one sails out of bounds. Doug Flutie just 8 yards shy of Tobin Rose for second on the all-time Argo passing list now. And the Winnipeg defense is sprinting off the field. That's the first opportunity they've had for a 2-and-out, and they wasted no time in getting off the field. They did their job there. Forced Doug Flutie and his group to get off the field and do the try.
I guess they're hoping that Winnipeg's offense can move the ball and trying to get as much rest as they possibly can before they got to come back.
I'm sure it's no consolation to Jeff Reinbold and company, but the Argos have been doing this to teams all season long, and in the 6-game winning streak the Argos are in the midst of, they've outscored their opposition by 150 points. And today, a 33-point lead here in Winnipeg. And the Argos are going to have to take a touchdown violation. They didn't have enough players for this punt.
Actually, they're right on their average right now in the third quarter. They've been averaging 40 points a game, which is a great number to be scoring on any team. Now you put that with the fact that they've got the #1 defense in the league. Boy, I tell you, you've got to be feeling pretty good heading into the stretch drive here.
Well, when you look at Toronto's record, they've beaten Hamilton 4 times and Winnipeg probably 3 times now, and those are the 2 worst teams in the league record-wise. So they still have to sort things out when they play the Montreals of the world. Vanderjet getting set to kick with that stiff breeze behind him. Stiegel is back and lets it bounce in front of him. Stiegel at the 37, and he'll just skip out of bounds across the 40-yard line. The Argos have BC next week. Montreal, Calgary, and Montreal to finish out the regular season. Now, Mark Lee used to play this game. He was a quarterback, and he's standing right here, folks. But I don't know. This looks like a defensive posture to me. He's right there. Here comes Mark. There's Mark Lee, and he didn't give that much ground. Lee standing in there. Have the football at the 42, and bad snap from center, and McDougall just gets back on the football. And the frustration continues.
Yeah, you get a new quarterback in there a lot of times, just mishandles the snap, and I'm sure David's gone through this. You got a new center in there, he just pulls away. Vancona's just trying to get outside and get his block.
Flutie now with 12 touchdown passes against the Bombers on the year. There's McDougall, finds Stiegel, Milt Stiegel, and he's up near a first down at the 53. Leading receiver in the Canadian Football League, Milt Stiegel, over 1,200 yards coming into the game. Oh, Kevin McDougall's doing what we talked about, get Milt Stiegel involved. Milt's caught a couple passes. He's also caught one and fumbled one, but you got to continue to get him the football because he's the one guy out there that can make something small into something big. Stiegel has had 9 consecutive games where he's had a catch of at least 50 yards. That string in jeopardy here as long as today is 30. Montgomery ran into Andrew Stewart behind the line of scrimmage.
Well, there had to be some sort of miscommunication on the play. The offensive line released and went downfield, and it looked the guy that was closest to getting the handoff was Stewart. He was right beside Montgomery in the backfield, so when things are starting to shake, boy, they shake a lot. You take a look at the offensive line right now. They're slipping. They're doing a strip block, but nobody picks up Stewart, and Stewart just comes there and makes the play, almost takes the handoff.
Loss of one, another one. 2nd and 11 situation. McDougall outside Sean Graham. And Graham bounced out of bounds a couple of yards shy of the first down, it looks. And with the score 40-7, it's time to go on 3rd down, isn't it?
Yeah, it wouldn't matter what the situation is here as far as the yardage goes. They're near midfield. They've advanced the ball far enough to where you have to go for it.
6 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter, and the Bombers trying to keep a drive alive down at the Argo 49. Montgomery, and he was hit right at the line of scrimmage and pulled back. I don't think he got there. Reggie Gibbons shaking his head after making the tackle.
You know, one of the things that drives me crazy, it really frustrates me, is when you're going short yardage, why do you leave your slot backs in? These are pencil necks. They're not there to block. You got to bring in the big guys. You got to load them up, and you got to knock them back. This is not a time to be fancy and get your best-dressed guys on the field. You want the big, slobby guys, the guys that can't see their feet when they're standing up. You want these guys to be making a hole.
I didn't like the way you looked at me when you said pencil neck. Well, they did measure, and you saw that they actually lost ground on that 3rd down gamble. Well, we had more than a few Bomber fans on the internet last week, and wonder what their response will be to this game. Hope to hear from you on Tuesday. Here's Flutie rolling and delivering. Another strike to Darryl Mitchell. And with that gain, Doug Flutie is just past Tobin Road and into 2nd place on the all-time Argo passing list. Only Conrad Holloway left to go for Doug Flutie.
Well, I'm a little surprised, Chris, that Doug Flutie's still in the ballgame. I know he's still directing this offense and doing it very well, but he's taking a lot of shots in this game. We talked about him getting hit. This team cannot afford to lose Doug Flutie.
Big time. Bingo on that statement. And the biggest thing is Winnipeg's defensive line. I really think that they've really come to play today, and they have taken a number of shots at him.
Flutie gets that away. A completion to Mazzotti. And at the 40-yard line, Borgella pins him after a gain of 8.
And getting back to your point, Dave, I think they got to put Andre Ware in. This is a time when you have this big of a lead. You want to get your guy, your backup, the other Heisman winner of the duo of these guys, to get in there and get some playing time, get some rhythm. He knows John Jenkins. You got to do it. See Doug Flutie's all-time 9,800 yards passing. Phenomenal.
What's amazing about that is the fact that he has not played, he's only played a season and 3 quarters of football for the Toronto Argonaut team, and he's already the #2 all-time passing leader for this ball club in the history. That tells you what kind of player and what kind of stats this guy can put up.
Andre Ware is charting, and Flutie remains the quarterback, 2nd and short, and Mike Clements, with his 2nd carry of the game, has the 1st down. Pinball adding to his numbers today, and he is en route to a CFL record for most all-purpose yards in a season that he set back in 1990.
And this is where it all happens right here. You can see the guys getting down and nasty, getting underneath the shoulder pads, driving it down. Pinball loving the opportunity to carry the ball, carry the load. Usually it's Robert Drummond in that situation. They got so many weapons, it's just scary to watch.
Was a 1st down for Clements, and now out of the shotgun, 3 receivers come to the right side. And Flutie looks left, and there's Clements with the catch, dragged down by Nick Ferguson. Ball at the 30-yard line, a gain of 6 for Pinball.
Well, they're having some fun on the field now. They left their short yardage crew in the game, which means Williams and O'Day were out at tight end. They shifted Flutie back to the shotgun, and Flutie actually wanted to throw the ball up the field to either Jeremy O'Day or Willie Williams running seam routes. When it didn't work out, they both got jammed They both got jammed about 5 yards downfield. He took his outlet pinball, Clemens.
I think Willie Williams is going to catch a pass today, though.
That might be a safe bet today, I tell you that.
Former tight end in college at LSU, and they remain with this tight end formation, but Clemens with the carry up the middle, and he's down to the 24-yard line, another first down. But a flag is down.
Well, no flag on the play, but they got Willie Williams lined up at tight end. And you're right, Chris. He could probably go deep on a pass, but they got him blocking a defensive back. He was run blocking Borgella. That is a mismatch. And it...
Well, they believe that this set in. And we've got an injured player. Looks like Scribner's taking a knee. And Rob Robinson comes on as Colin Scribner is in some difficulty.
Well, to Winnipeg's credit, a lot of times you'll see a team getting blown out by this many points, and you'll see a lot of guys start going down with injuries. A lot of guys start turtling. We call it they just don't feel like finishing the game, and they come out. I've been associated with players like that. As David Archer gives me the dirtiest look I've ever got. It does happen, and I'm just proud of the way these guys are sticking in there and still doing it.
I'm not giving you a dirty look. I was just laughing. What's it called again?
Turtling, baby.
Turtling.
That's where you pull your head back in your shell and look for a place to hide.
I got you.
Scribner hobbling up, and Rob Robinson checking in. The Argos will extend their win streak to 7 today, but they've got the real meat of their schedule to finish off with. Dave, you've alluded to it. BC, Montreal, Calgary, and Montreal again. So it's going to be interesting down the stretch for this team, but obviously the Argos are hitting on all cylinders right now. And they go back to a more conventional offensive set. Flags are down. Flutie throwing, and that one skips short of the intended receiver, Andre Kerwin. And a procedure call against Toronto.
And you got to like this. Watch Peoples on the side here. Nice arm bar, comes around Willie Williams and keeps running, keeps pressuring. And that is a full day's work. You earned your pay when you're chasing Doug Flutie around the field here.
Hey, George. How many penalties is that on Toronto? How many penalties is Toronto have?
So a 2nd and 10 as the procedure penalty declined. Flutie underneath, pinball Clements, and he's forced out at the 19, and that will be short of the first down by 3.
And Doug Flutie wants to go for it. Now, you'd think with a big lead like this, he'd be just content to let the field goal team come in and put 3 more. But he wants to go for it. See pinball just coming across, finding a little opening, dragging across. He's being covered by D. Osborne, the middle linebacker. Throws it. Nice catch. Get what you can.
I'm not sure they're trying to run it up in this circumstance, but they did talk about the fact they'd like to lay a trouncing on Winnipeg in response to the Robert Davis hit on Damon Allen last week. And now on 3rd down, Flutie's in trouble. Brad Elberg forces him to throw it out of bounds. So Brad Elberg, a converted reserve safety, comes on the blitz and forces Flutie to throw it away.
Well, as a defense, you try to pull out all the stops. You get your safety involved rushing the passer. Brad Elberg, who's now in that role, number 1, is after one of the more elusive players in this league, and he doesn't give him any chance to retreat. Doug gets to throw the ball away.
So the Bombers take over on downs at their 19-yard line. McDougall, the quarterback, and he's under pressure, and down he goes. Mike O'Shea has had a big afternoon, has a sack.
Good pressure, as you alluded to. Michael Shea coming up. He lines up in that tough position. He comes sometimes. He drops sometimes. He's just trying to confuse the offensive line. Comes through on that particular play. He's got some pressure from the outside. McDougall can't go to the outside. He's got to stay in the pocket. Nice sack from Mr. O'Shea.
Argo defense has made a change. Antonius Bonner has come into the game at the corner for Donald Smith. Second down. Here's Stiegel. Milt Stiegel trying to make something happen. It's across the 25. And that'll be 5 yards short of the first down.
Well, Milt Stiegel is the guy that you want to have the ball with. He's going to come inside. It's a screen. It's second and long again, so he's got to go a long way to get the first down. Picks up a couple of nice blocks from his O-line. They get out in front, but that's just too far to have to go for the first down. This defense for Toronto does not get enough credit. I know they lead in a lot of categories, but I'll bet it'd be tough for people to watch this game to name a guy on this defense. It's kind of a no-name defense, but they just dominate football games. When you got an offense like with Flutie and all the weapons he has, they get all the credit.
Bob Cameron on third down. This one taken by Harris in front of Clemens. Flag down for no yards, and another flag flies after the tackle. I think Pinball took the toughest hit there from Johnny Harris.
They might be calling Pinball for no yards on that one.
35-yard punt into the breeze.
Well, Don Matthews talks about how his team can always improve after every game, and I've seen two things on special teams that they'll definitely improve on. 31's supposed to be catching the football. That's Pinball Clemens, not the guys that are blocking for him. And it's just twice. We saw Charles Anthony in the first half. This time, Johnny Harris catches the ball. That won't happen next week. You can bank on it.
You know what, Dave, and some of those things that's really tough, obviously, now they're in that situation where the wind's playing with the ball, and as a coach, you tell your players, don't let the ball bounce, catch it in the air. A lot of times you get a no-yards penalty, so that's one of those communication things that'll have to be worked out by Don Matthews. I'm sure he will work it out. He has a way of relating with these players that you're right, it probably won't happen again, but wind does play a factor in the punts.
Yes, and when the flags are blowing like that, it must be Winnipeg or Taylor Field. Should be the final play, third quarter. Flutie, long out, finds Kerwin. And Andre Kerwin will be wrestled out by Nick Ferguson. And he'll move the sticks. And this is the first game for the rookie Kerwin, where he has caught more than 2 in a single game. That's his third catch on the final play of the third quarter in Winnipeg. Getting ready for the fourth quarter here in Winnipeg. Doug Flutie and the Argonauts comfortably in front en route to their 7th consecutive victory, but held to only 1 point in the third quarter, and that came on the opening kickoff of the second half.
That's a good point. They were held to 1 point, but they still didn't score any points. And that's the thing they got to do. As an offense, you have to score points. If you hold them to 1, you better be putting some on the other side.
Take it easy. Maybe more playing, just chilling right now, you know what I'm saying? Just enjoying the game, so you just enjoy yourself. You don't worry about that, right, pretty girl, you know what I'm saying? Hey, Danelle, hey, Colin, hey, everybody in Toronto.
My question there is, why doesn't Donald take the mouthpiece out?
Well,
he just taking it easy.
He just came out of the locker. Maybe he doesn't even know he's got it in.
So Donald Smith letting us know he's all right, just giving Antonius Bonner some time. Here's Dimitrition, and Dwayne Dimitrition upended by Elberg at the 25, and that'll be close to a first down.
And a nice job by Pierre Vercheville getting out in front, getting a real nice block on Robert Davis, opening it up and giving him a little bit more room to run, which turns it into a first down.
What's happening now offensively is Robert Drummond is being rested. Remember, he went off the field with a knee injury earlier in the half, then came back, played well, and now they're resting him. And the guy who's taking his spot at the big back position is Dwayne Dimitrition.
And Dimitrition with a season-high 88 yards receiving. Flutie, Clemens. And look at him turn on a dime. Can't get outside, though. Defensive play there by Borgella.
Pinball Clemens has had a super season this year where he's closing in on a 100 receptions. Just continues to rack up the numbers in all-purpose yardage. He's always the threat returning kicks. Fun guy to have to throw the football to.
And one of the nicest things about him is he plays special teams. He plays running back. He plays slot back. He play wide out in a scatter formation. And he takes a pounding, and yet you still watch him making moves time and time again.
Got 5 on the last catch, his 89th of the year. Flutie on 2nd and 5 over the middle. Darryl Mitchell down to the 11, and the Argo drive continues.
Well, if they're showing any signs of letting up, I don't see it. And I kind of have to disagree with you when they went for a 3rd down, Chris, because I think Doug Flutie wants to put a hammering on Winnipeg again. And you know what he's saying? Last time the excuse was that Winnipeg had lost 5 starters. That was the reason they put up so many points. That was why there were so many breakdowns. He's going to say, you know what? You got your starters in there, and we're still going to hammer you.
Edmonton Eskimos at Taylor Field, trying to stay ahead of the pack in the West. That's a good matchup, Montreal and Calgary. Here's Flutie looking in the end zone for Mitchell, and a flag flies. Courtney Griffin and Mitchell were tied up.
Yeah, and I agree, Jeff. This is an unbelievable call. First of all, the pass is not catchable. Second of all, Darryl Mitchell had given up on the route. He had stopped, and when he saw the ball thrown, reacted, and Courtney Griffin is taking the brunt of this. Ridiculous. It's a ridiculous call.
And at some point in the game, when the game is out of hand like this, you have to, whether it's that close, and it wasn't even close, I agree with you, Dave, you got to keep the flags in the pocket.
Puts the ball down on the 1 as the Argos knock on the door again. Clemens, the lone setback, takes the handoff and gets nailed. Shante Peoples came from over the top.
Well, he's had a whale of a game today. These guys are doing a great job still in the defensive line. Fortunately, breakdowns at other times. He comes over, gets the ball. Colin Scrivener and company, Peoples coming over the middle. You know Pinball's going to try and do the same thing Drummond does, and that is if you can't get it, they're going to hop. When you leave your feet, you lose power.
The difference there is Pinball weighs 170 pounds and Drummond's 220.
That's a big difference.
2nd and goal. Flutie will try it. No signal. And Flutie's going to argue.
Well, and I don't care. I think you may be the MPB of the league for 4 times or 5 times in a row. You can't do that to the official. You may get upset. You got to treat him like everybody else. You upset? Throw the flag.
Third down. Tell you, the fans are charged up now. And Flutie in trouble. So the Bombers come up with a goal line stand. And the fans celebrate here for the first time in the 2nd half.
Well, Robert Davis has been fined. He's been called a dirty player. He's played a super football game today. In tough circumstances, here Doug Flutie tries the bootleg, and Davis is there to make the play.
On time.
So Winnipeg takes over at the 5. There's a pass out of bounds. Now, why is the ball at the 5 if that was ruled an incomplete pass? I was wondering why it wasn't a fumble into the end zone.
I think we have an argument for it being a fumble. Flutie's famous for throwing the ball away to avoid sacks, as Chris Walby will allude to. You talked to him about that, and he likes to throw the ball away. Doesn't like to take the sack.
Well, he is really tight with his unit. He just feels like I will only take a sack if I'm going to hurt my team by throwing it. I don't have an opportunity to get rid of it. But if you throw it on the ground, that's why that comes into play. You got to start throwing flags, grounding, intentional getting rid of the ball.
Kevin McDougall throws the interception, and Johnny Harris has his 2nd of the game. There was a flag down for a hold as McDougall was almost sacked for a safety. And the Argos will gladly not take the penalty and take the interception by Harris, his 2nd of the game.
You know, I was asking Big Dan Payne from from Toronto, one of their offensive linemen. He's looking great. He's lost some weight. I said, what's happening? He says, you know what? We're on the field all the time. I got to get in shape.
Johnny Harris, the ball hawk. I tell you, Bill Bradley pulled every hair out of his head trying to get this guy with his ball club, and he got him last year. Late in the year, he played half the season with his team, and he became a starter in camp this year, and he just makes so many plays. He's around the ball all the time.
So Doug Flutie gets another chance. These fans really giving it to Flutie. Clemens fumbles the ball, and the Bombers, well, do they get back on it? I think Pinball got it back. The ball bounced back into Pinball's hands.
And boy, does Grant Carter ever want another shot at this ball. The ball is laying there. As he dives for the ball, it actually knocks it back in Pinball's direction. Pinball gets a chance to get it again. Just a mishandle of the toss back. Grant Carter dives on it, and it's like grabbing a bar of soap sometimes. It just kind of pops everywhere. And Pinball's very lucky to retrieve that one.
Right back into Clemens' hands. It'll be second down. Ball back at the 14. There's Flutie looking in the end zone, and Casola unable to bring it down. Doug Flutie trying to spread the wealth. Casola's had a catch here today, and he was looking for Casola in the end zone for the first time this year.
Well, I really think Doug's back in the ball game because he didn't get in on the third down play on the goal line. I think he was upset that he wasn't able to punch it in. Had they punched it in, as you see, the ball's overthrown, Casola can't make the catch. I think he was back in the game on this series as a statement. He wanted to come back in and make the play. Super effort by Casola to make the catch, just overthrown. But I think that Flutie should be on the sideline right now. He took a heck of a hit on the bootleg play.
So Vanderjagt comes on to try a 21-yarder as the Winnipeg defense has come up big in the second half, and Vanderjagt misses this to the right. So all the Argos have to show in the second half are two signals, one on a missed field goal, the other on a kickoff.
Well, one of the things you can see about Jeff Reinbold, he's an emotional guy. He says yesterday, I wear my emotions on my sleeve. I don't hide them. He's walking across. They missed that field goal. He's happy, and he's going right over to Toronto. In your face, Toronto. Let's bring it on, baby. Let's brawl some more.
And Chris, I'm over on the Argo bench, and the Winnipeg crowd is in an ugly mood here because Flutie is still in the game. On the previous series, Flutie was mocking the crowd by cupping his hands behind his ears as they repeated and yelled things at him that I can't tell you here on television.
But that's why Reinbold made the gesture to the Argo bench. You know, they go for it, third down in the third quarter. They're trying to run it up, and the Bombers aren't letting them, and it makes for an interesting sidebar in a 41-7 game.
Well, I think that's the key statement there, and the fact that you want to get your team to feel as fired up as you are. I mean, get that hatred going. See what they're trying to do. They're actually coming in your home turf, your park, and trying to rub your face in it. It's like walking in a pasture and having someone shove your head into droppings. It's not a nice thing. You got to get this fixed, man.
I was worried about where you were going on that.
Yeah. Oh, don't be worried.
Well, the second half, if you're scoring at home, is 2-0 Toronto. 41-7 in the game, but the Argos wanted to run it up on Jeff Reinbold, and the Bombers are playing tough in the second half. Here's Montgomery. Broke a tackle, and he's still going. Down to the Argo 46. Well, he's broken a couple today.
Now getting back to Toronto, trying to run the score up here a little bit. You got to remember that Adam Rita and Don Matthews go way back. They're very close friends, and don't mistake that for anything more than it's worth. And it's worth saying that he came in here to put one on Reinbold for his buddy.
I know Doug before the game talked about the fact that no one was talking about the game, but here's Montgomery again. Big yardage. First down inside the 35. It was all the side issues like the Davis hit and Flutie and Mazzotti's comments about laying a trouncing on the Bombers were played up here. They called Doug the Golden Boy here in Winnipeg this week.
Take a look at Mike Mihalik, just doing a great job. And I mean, this is something that I know it's easy to say now when you're down this much, but you got to stay with your ground game, especially as the weather becomes a factor in this part of the year. Stay with it.
First down, McDougall, play action, flag down. Here's O'Bannon, and he's bumped out of bounds, but a holding call upcoming against Winnipeg.
Well, big Dave Van Coen in the center just does a lasso on Rob Waldrop and actually flips him right over, right in front of the referee, right beside McDougall's feet. You know you can't get away with that. They got him there.
Now you see the holding call, and here it is, Chris.
Well, you can see it exactly right there. Waldrop just a really nice job of going one way and coming back the other on Dave Van Coen. And Dave, to his defense, is trying to keep anybody off McDougall. Doesn't want him to take a shot because of his knee is still not 100%, so he decides, I'm going to drag him down.
Waldrop playing at 20 pounds heavier than last year when he was an All-Canadian. Here's McDougall looking downfield for Stiegel. Jump ball. Stiegel's got it at the 15. Well, the leading receiver in the CFL comes up smiling, and they're getting him the football a little bit more in this game.
Well, he's covered pretty well by Charles Anthony. Lester Smith is going to come over the top for free safety, and this is just all Milt Stiegel going up over the top of a 6'3" halfback to make the play. I tell you, he dropped the football earlier, a fumble, but I continue to try to get 85 the ball. He's really the only guy that's going to make a play catching the football.
And Stiegel over 100 yards, 111 on the day. Here's Montgomery, and he is stuffed at the line of scrimmage. Tyrone Montgomery, prior to that carry, 93 yards. So he's looking for his first CFL century.
And your fullback is a key on any running play. And Bruce Boyko just gets smashed at the point of attack, knocked back into the backfield, disrupts Montgomery's field of vision, and in effect stuffs the play.
Montgomery had 91 yards in his first CFL start against Montreal, so he has a season high. 2nd and 9. McDougall behind Graham, incomplete. And now it's 3rd down.
And I think they got to go for it here, Chris. I mean, let's build on something positive. We talked about they're starting to move the ball. They had some nice runs there. Keep it going.
Well, Jeff Reinbold said yesterday, we're not going to play close to the vest. We're going to play full out. Every time out, that's the only way we're going to develop as a team. So 3rd and 9. They will shun the easy field goal and go for it. Here comes the rush. McDougall into the end zone. Incomplete. Was looking for O'Bannon, and they'll turn it over on downs. So 5:09 to go here in the 4th quarter in Winnipeg. 41-7, the Argos lead.
You're hurting, puppy.
Welcome back to Winnipeg. We'd like to... What? Welcome back to Winnipeg. There's the new CFL on CBC halftime set we've been working on. Actually, it's the rigging for the Rolling Stones concert. Mick Jagger and the team coming here Tuesday night in Winnipeg. And there's our Mick Jagger standing right now. Neil Carlton, the cameraman. Back to you guys.
Well, the home fans haven't got no satisfaction so far today, but it's been a much more interesting second half. There's Pinball spinning off a tackle up to the 20-yard line. It's a 34-point game. The Argos in complete control, but the second half has been a more interesting battle between the two clubs.
You can see Toronto's going 145 to Winnipeg's 55 points during the season. You're not going to win that many games with that widest spread.
20,000 looking on here. We've seen the Argos outscore the Bombers 2-0 in the second half. Clements inside, nailed by D. Osborne.
You know, and Dave, I am kind of questioning this myself. You brought this up earlier. Why is Doug Flutie still in the game now? Can you, I mean, I agree with you 100%. You can't take a chance on this guy taking a shot.
Well, if he's going to hand the football off, he's fine, which he did there twice. My question now is, why is Pinball Clemens in the game? Why is Matt DeBuck not in the game getting a chance to play? These are guys that, this is a good football team, and they have not had injuries all year long. All of a sudden, you lose a couple people as you make your stretch drive to the playoffs, and this team changes dramatically.
I agree with you 100%. And I want to know why Don Matthews is not returning my phone calls.
You know, Don Matthews has been very consistent on this point, though, and he will argue with anybody that talks about this. He says, I do not think about injuries. I do not anticipate injuries. We go out and play between the lines for 60 minutes.
And they have a whole lot of fun doing it.
In fact, Andre Ware has probably got more playing time this year than the backup behind Flutie did last year. Ware, of course, played the last quarter and a half of the 66-25 game. It does not look like he's getting ready to come in.
It's a heck of a helmet, though.
Tyrone Rogers getting helped off. Just signed a new extension to his contract. He also made a commitment to stay in Winnipeg in the offseason as well. Mike Vanderjagt's going to concede a safety here.
Well,
Carter took quite a hit from Mike O'Shea on the
this
block.
is unbelievable. Winnipeg right now, the cover team is standing there. Carter was the only one down there trying to chase the punter to knock him out of bounds, and the rest of the guys were standing. You got to get down there because he'll just kill the clock for the remaining 4 minutes running the back of that end zone. I don't understand that at all.
And Mike O'Shea nailing Carter.
Mike O'Shea does a great job on Carter and knocks him down, but my point being that he's the only one down there he has to block. Where's the rest of the blue? I mean, they got to get down there. You have to get down there and cover. Don't give up now. There's 4 minutes left in this game. You cannot quit.
So a couple of points on the safety, and it's 41-9. And for Bomber fans scoring at home, 2-2 in the second half.
Well, second quarter, obviously the killer for Winnipeg, 32 points put up by Toronto. Second half, it's a tie game, 2-2, and I'm sure that's what they're going to play on going into the next game, the things they did in the second half. But they still got to get some production from that offense, or it's going to be a long remainder of the season for this team.
And probably important to underscore, I don't think the Argos have called off the dogs here. I mean, they've been trying to score here in the second half.
I mean, it's been a war in there. And this team, if it didn't have any hatred for each other before, and, you know, they are quickly developing into being one of the rivalries. I just think that Winnipeg has got to get nastier. They got to play hard. I mean, I'm not saying they have to play harder, but they've got to do it. It will work, and don't do trick plays. Just work it. If the running play is work, stay with the running play. Don't fix it unless it's broke, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Second down, McDougall with time, looking for Stiegel, and he comes down with the football again in Argo territory at the 52. Milt Stiegel fattening his statistics, well over 100 yards on the day. 3-minute warning's been given to the benches. Season high for Milt Stiegel, 132 yards on 7 catches. That's the good news for Winnipeg. The bad news, all other receivers, 3 catches, 17 yards. And one of those catches by Dexter Dawson was for no yards.
Well, at this point, you want to try to get in the end zone if you're Winnipeg, but I think you would like to try to extend Stiegel's streak with 8 consecutive. If you want to go to 9 consecutive games with a touchdown, I'd try to get that streak going.
Here's Stiegel on the reverse. He's looking downfield to throw. Now has to pull it down and gets down to the 50. A couple of yards on the pickup. Well, we're just monitoring the out-of-town proceedings for you as well. Low scoring at Taylor Field, where we assume the wind is blowing as it is here in Winnipeg. And the Alouettes up by a touchdown as they try to keep pace with the Argos, stay 2 points back in the race for first. Second down and 7 for McDougall. Rush on, gets it away, and it's Intercepted. Charles Anthony has the pick. Anthony knocked down at the 41-yard line, and the Argos take over there.
And I mean, I'm not a quarterback, but sometimes you wonder. I mean, it looks like McDougall comes back and he's actually telegraphing where he's throwing. He's looking one way. He's not looking anybody off. Dave, you probably can allude to that more, but I mean, he looks like he's programmed to one guy. He's looking at him.
Well, it's a sprint out, and they have the blitz on, and the blitz will force a quarterback to throw the ball a little bit quicker, load things up a little quicker. It's just thrown behind, and O'Bannon can't get the bit back to knock it down. That's what this Toronto defense does, is it just forces you into a feeling of not being comfortable. You know, you see him getting hit from behind on the blitz. Marcelo Simmons is coming and makes the 4th throw.
Looks like Doug Flutie's going all the way. Back in there to give to Clements. And there's room for pinball to roll. Flag is down as Clements still dancing inside the 20.
Well, they're going to get a hold up here, I believe, on Pierre Vercheval. These guys are just teeing off now, going downfield, looking for somebody to hit. It's getting ugly. It's getting nasty out there. If they get a chance to take a shot on them. The interesting thing will be now, Doug Flutie made a comment. You get a chance to hit Robert Davis, take his head off. Are his offensive linemen going to try and look for him and try and settle a score from last week?
I like the fact that you thought the rivalry was heating up between these two teams, like you used to like the Toronto Argonauts when you played in Winnipeg.
Oh, I've never. You know what? They've always had that swagger. Only because they've been good football teams. They always have been good, but they always had that swagger, and you just wanted to knock them off and defeat them and bring them back to earth. But they're still tops.
Clemens again after the holding call. Shante Peoples dragging him down. Chris Vargas was saying that yesterday. The Argo defense plays with arrogance, and he was saying that in a complimentary way.
Well, Shante Peoples, who's just played a whale of a game today again, one of the things when you're on one side of the ball, he just follows the pulling tackle, Willie Williams. Wherever Willie's going, the ball carrier's sure to go, and he just follows it right down to the plate.
Boy, Peoples has been around the football all day long. Clock running. Down to 1:20 to go. And Pinball gets the carry again, and he's tough to bring down, isn't he?
He's tough, but all they're trying to do is they're just having fun. I mean, this is what we talked about earlier. Willie Williams again does the same thing. He's pulling from his left tackle position. All he's doing is he's running to the right, finding the first person after the center to block, and he's just taking. They're having fun. They're just trying to take shots at people now.
Well, Jeff Reinbold's got to be proud of his defense, the way they played here in the second half, but I'll be honest with you, we've seen Toronto run the football more in this half than they've run all year long, and they're really trying to milk the clock. After that scoring threat they had early in the 4th quarter, they really have not tried to do anything with the football.
Vanderjagt. And here's Stiegel. Nice move by Stiegel. Now can he get outside? Got a big block. Dimitrition forces him back inside and finally brings him down. Play by Dwayne Dimitrition, but Milt Stiegel's across midfield into Argo territory, 54 yards.
Mr. Everything for the Bombers is doing it again. If he's not catching the ball, he's running the ball back on special teams. And wow, I mean, you just gotta love this guy. His work ethic. He makes some great moves. Freezes Mike O'Shea, comes, gets some blocks downfield, but he actually does a lot of this.
Big block by Robert Davis right there. He frees him, and Brad Elberg actually is going to make the tackle right here. Elberg comes in and he makes the tackle as Dimitrition gets an assist.
Here's Tyrone Montgomery. Pushed out of bounds by Antonio Bonner. Well, you'll put an asterisk on the streak now, but for Milt Stiegel, he now has 10 consecutive games where he's had a play for over 50 yards. 9 of them were games in which he had catches for 50 yards or more, and today he hasn't done that, but he has a 54-yard punt return. So he's a big play guy.
Well, if I'm the quarterback here, Chris, I try to make the play to get him the ball, let him try to score a touchdown. Try to send him down the seam for a couple of plays and try to get him the ball, extend his streak.
In the final minute, they give to Montgomery, trying to get 100 yards rushing, and he'll have it now. Outside and stepping out at the 36.
And this is a Toronto defense that has only given up 74 yards rushing a game. And I think that the team that plays Toronto next week is going to be looking at these films and finding out what Winnipeg did up front that got them the success that Winnipeg did get running the ball.
Well, it's BC next week, and they're going to see Big Sean Millington coming at him. He's a little bit different back, but he can hurt you just the same. Had a 212-yard game earlier this year against Saskatchewan, so they're going to see a guy who can run the football.
First down at the 35 with 35 seconds to go, and McDougall going down underneath Andrew Stewart and Demetrius Maxey.
Well, Andrew Stewart gets his 7th sack of the year, leading the Toronto Argonauts right now. I mean, they just have players who just take turns coming up with big plays. If it's not Reggie Gibbons, it's Stewart. If it's not Stewart, it's Waldrop. I mean, they just take turns alternating.
5th straight game for Stewart that he's had a sack. McDougall to Montgomery. And sure tackle by the safety, Lester Smith.
I want to go back to something that Dave Archer said, though, and it's not a bone of contention here. You're saying that Toronto hasn't really thrown the football after that failed attempt, and you kind of think, if I'm reading you right, that they were kind of taking it a little easy on them. I feel that by running the ball, you are punishing a team even more by the fact that now the game is out of hand. What I'm trying to do is beat you up physically.
There's a 3rd down throw to Montgomery, and he's pushed out of bounds short of the first, and they'll turn it over on downs once again with 10 seconds to go in the game. And it looks like the activity Mark Lee talked about behind the Argo bench is continuing as Don Matthews looks up into the stands.
Well, talking to some of the people that have played here, and Dave, you might be able to echo this, they say that those fans on the east side can be some of the rowdiest and sometimes some of the rudest people that you can come across in the CFL.
I would concur with that. Yeah, they can be very difficult, and that's part of the home field advantage.
I mean, I'm not going to say the fact that half of them are my neighbors, but hey.
Well, they'll now run the clock down here. I think even our own Scott Oak has talked about the East Siders being the toughest crowd he's had to deal with in the CFL.
Well, Winnipeg fans, I'm sure, disappointed they haven't gone through a season like this in a long time, and it's pretty disappointing for them.
Well, that'll do it. And the Toronto Argonauts have won 7 in a row. Don Matthews' team continues on cruise control at 12-2.
Well, the schedule begins now for Toronto. In my mind, their drive to the Grey Cup, and they're going to have to play some difficult opponents. BC's up next. Montreal 2 of the last 3 weeks.
And a nice handshake between the two coaches.